You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. We'll call this meeting of the Branford Planning and Zoning Commission to order. We appreciate your patience. It is Thursday, November 18th, 2021. I've got 7:13 p.m. I'll introduce members of the commission and staff and go through our procedures. To my far right, Commission Member Joe Chadwick. Turning the corner, we have Commission Member, newly appointed official Commission Member Fred Russo. To my left, we have Commission Member Marcy Pelusi, and next to Marcy is Massimo Liguri. Our staff this evening is our Town Planner Harry Smith, Assistant Planner Evan Brining, and I think watching remotely is our Clerk Recording Secretary Michelle Martin. I am Chuck Andrus, Chair, and I'm going to ask our Secretary to read the notice of public hearings, please.
The Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Branford, Connecticut hereby gives notice of public hearings to be held on Thursday, November 18th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in person at the Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, Branford, Connecticut, to consider the following. 1. Application number 21-10.8, special exception for an indoor recreation use, gym, located at 1025 to 1091 West Main Street. Lindsay Schaffner, applicant, Kiop, Branford, LLC, care of Kimco Realty, Nicholas Brown, VP owner. Item number 2, application number 21-8.1, an 11-lot re-subdivision located at 175 Cherry Hill Road, BC Investment Property, LLC, care of Bruno Saccone, applicant and owner. At said hearings, all persons will have the right to be heard and written communications will be received. A copy of the application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Commissioner's office at the Planning and Zoning Department, 1019 Main Street, Branford.
Thank you, Marcy. We'll follow our normal format for public hearings. And what that is the applicant goes first. You can grab a microphone or go to the podium, make the presentation, including any expert or consultants that may want to comment as part of that. After that, we turn it over to the commission and staff. We'll have a staff who's prepared staff report, summarize that for the commission. We'll have questions, comments from commission members. And at that point, we'll open it up to the public. We ask that you come forward. You state your name and address for the record. You grab a microphone, again, or at the podium. You make your comments. And after the public portion is finished, we allow the applicant to respond to any of the public comments. We may or may not continue the public hearing. It's not unusual for some applications for them to continue over various dates. I will state that if you're here on, and we do have some staff reports and agendas up here if you'd like to grab that. If you're here on item number 7, that's the 11-lot re-subdivision at 175 Cherry Hill Road. That matter, the applicant has requested be continued to our next meeting, which will be on December 9th. If you can't make that December 9th meeting, you may comment, but typically we want to hear the applicant go first, make his presentation before we hear the public comment. So if you're here on that one, we're not going to hear a presentation on that one this evening. With that, we'll start with our first item on the agenda, which is Robert Caldera, applicant, Pamela Ebbett over 12 Sunrise Cove Camp Special Exception Coastal Site Plan. And I understand, Harry, for this one, speaking of continuations, the applicant has requested this matter be continued also to our December 9th meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding, and I think we have a time extension that covers that continuance to December 9th, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So if you're here on that item, that's the Sunrise Cove Special Exception Coastal Site Plan. We're continuing that one to our December 9th meeting. With that, we'll go to items number 2 and 3. And this is the car wash on 54 and 60 North Main Street. That's Nick Magnota, the applicant, and John and Rachel Brazil, owner. Joseph Porto, attorney, is representing them. And this is a matter that we opened as a public hearing on our, I believe, our September 16th meeting. And a number of concerns were raised, including issues about stacking, adequate stacking length, comments from the fire department, and concerns about exiting, whether the exiting area was adequate and there would be traffic issues as well as other issues associated with the car wash. So is the applicant ready to proceed?
We are.
You may proceed.
Wonderful, thank you. Good evening. My name is Joe Porto. I practice law with Perrette, Porto, Parisi, and Caldwell. Our office is located in Hamden. We are before you this evening with regard to our representation of Nick Magnotta and the application for a change of use and special exception for the car wash at 5460 North Main Street. As indicated, and I'm sure the Commission recalls, we were here last on September 16th, covered the ground, not the ground rules, but the housekeeping issues. I'm going to bypass those. I'm sure the Commission recalls all that we said about the zone and the size of the lot. During the hearing, there were a couple of concerns that were raised, and we would like to address those. Based on my notes, the concerns were generally along the following lines. There was a question as to how quickly vehicles move through the tunnel. During the time since the last hearing, we had the opportunity to confer with a manufacturer's representative from Motor City Wash Works, which is the company that manufactures the express wash that hopefully will be established at the site. And the information that we were provided is that vehicles will move through the tunnel at a rate of 1 vehicle per minute. So that is directly from the manufacturer's representative, moving through the tunnel at a rate of 1 vehicle per minute. A question or concern was raised as to whether or not the site would create an impediment for the fire department to respond to emergency calls. Mr. Preedy and I had the opportunity to meet with the chief and the deputy chief last week. We sat down with him and reviewed the revised site plan, which is before you, and the chief was absolutely satisfied that there were no concerns and provided a memo to that in that regard to staff, and I believe the commission has that in its packet. There were questions with regard to stacking. As indicated, and Mr. Preedy will go through this in just a moment, and I recognize the commission has a full agenda and we will move along as expeditiously as possible. There were questions with regard to stacking. The site plan has been revised to just about double the amount of stacking on site from 11 cars to 20, and we will take you through that in just one moment. And there were questions with regard to traffic and whether or not the use would have an adverse impact on traffic on North Main Street. And the design team has employed the services of Neil Olinsky from SLR. Mr. Olinsky is a traffic engineer. He studied the traffic on North Main Street. He studied the industry data, a similar use, another car wash site, and is prepared to present to you his investigations, findings, and conclusions with regard to the level of service, both pre-construction and post-construction. So with that, I would like to have Mr. Preedy address you with regard to the change in the site plan, followed by Mr. Olinsky, and of course we will be here along with the applicant to respond to any questions the commission may have.
Jim Preddy, Chris Gullo Engineering, 420 East Main Street here in Branford. Again, this is just by way of refresher. This is the property across the street, 54 and 60. It's actually 2 properties. The plan that you saw last time was this. We had about 11 stacking spaces, exit over here, vacuum spaces, another exit over here. Hearing the concerns about queuing and other traffic related issues, we have revised the plan, basically flipped the entrance and exit so that we now have 20 spaces queuing coming in around this side. You enter the tunnel, you come out, and then there's a few less, but still vacuum spaces in the front, and then a left and a right turn together at one place, so there's one entrance and one exit. This lines up almost directly with Chidsey Drive? That's not on there. There's a little dead-end road there.
Yeah.
And as Attorney Porto said, we had met with the chief and the fire marshal, and he had seen the new layout and kind of removed his concerns about any conflicts with their apparatus, which, by the way, is quite a bit ways down here anyway, where all the apparatus come out of this property is down here, and they control the lights and they have flashing lights. So he wasn't concerned that this was going to be an issue for them at all in that regard. So again, to my knowledge, there was, as Joe said, 3 really main issues: queuing, fire, and then the traffic. I've explained the queuing that we've increased to, and I'm going to let Neil speak to the traffic concerns that are background on Route 1. Stand there.
Thanks, Jim. For the record, Neil Olinsky with SLR Consulting. We did the traffic study of the development, and one of the first things we do when we do a traffic study is we look at how much new traffic we'd expect to be generated by the project, by the development. So what we did here is we looked at industry data that's been published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, the ITE, and we also looked at some sales data from a comparable site up in Glastonbury. And what we found, what we estimate is that a typical Friday, Saturday peak hour, we're looking at 50 to 60 cars are going to be attracted to this site. That's what the data would indicate. That's the single peak hour, 50 cars in, 50 cars out, 50 to 60 cars in, 50 to 60 cars out. A key point to make as well is not all these cars are going to be new to this area. There'll be some folks who are already commuting past on Route 1, commuting past the site. And when this gets built, it'll just be a convenience to kind of go in and out kind of thing. So some of the traffic will be completely new, some will be what we call pass-by traffic. The next step what we do in traffic studies, we look at how much traffic's on the roadways, and obviously Route 1 is what we're looking at here. We did new traffic counts on Friday and Saturday, October 1st and 2nd, and we looked again at the peak hours of the roadway traffic. Logically, as you'd expect, Friday PM was the peak of the day on that day. Middle of the day, I think Saturday morning was the peak, late morning peak period. Then we increased the roadway traffic a bit based on CONDOT growth factors and things like that. We added in some traffic from other area developments that we know are in the pipeline or being constructed. And of course, we added the new car wash traffic on top. And then we did an analysis of the driveways to understand how they'd be expected to operate. 2 driveways, actually. There's the entrance driveway and the exit driveway. So what we found in a nutshell is, as you'd expect, turning left out of the site during the peak hours, it's going to have some delay. As expected, and experienced at, quite frankly, a lot of the driveways on this stretch of Route 1. Lefts are going to have a level service E or F. During the peak hours, during non-peak hours, it'll be better. But again, that's kind of par for the course along the stretch of Route 1. It's really a function of the amount of traffic on Route 1 during the rush hour and things like that. Luckily, we're proposing 2 lanes at the exit, a right and a separate left turn lane. So folks trying to take a right out, they'll be able to get by people trying to or waiting a bit to take a left out during the peak periods. Taking a right out quite clearly is easier because you only have to look at one approaching stream of traffic. Another good thing I'd like to note is turning into the site is going to be quite good. And traffic passing by the site is not expected to be impacted. So Route 1 traffic just passing by as they do today is going to be pretty good. It's going to be level service A is what we're expecting. And this is also a function of the shoulders that are out there too, which helps for, if someone's trying to take a left into the site, has to wait a few seconds, other cars can get by. Which again also helps emergency vehicles because, people now have the shoulder to pull over to and get by. So looking through my notes, yes, one other key thing I'd like to note is we looked at sight lines at the driveways. And they're going to be good. I mean, it's straight and flat out there. We exceed CONDOT's guidelines for for sightlines at this location. And I don't want to take up everybody's time, but as you've heard, we have quite a bit of queuing pre-car wash on the site. I think 20 cars. That's expected to be more than enough. So with that, I'm going to end my traffic presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. We may have some questions in a bit, but we'll let you continue your presentation.
Well, thank you. That really is the presentation. Again, the majority of the information I think we provided at the last hearing. Don't want to kind of go back over trodden ground, but to the extent the commission, to the extent the commission has any questions, happy to respond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Porter. At this point, what we'll do is we may have some questions, but first we'll ask our Evan to summarize the staff report.
Sure. Like the applicant stated, they did make a few changes to the site plan, particularly to the queuing and stacking. They meet the bulk requirements as well as the landscaping requirements. The car wash use is not included in our off-street parking table. Therefore, the commission is to determine the number of adequate spaces. That's not only the queuing, but as well as the employee and the vacuum spaces. Staff feels that the proposed 20 spaces we find that the 20 stacking spaces are consistent with other community standards nationwide. That's based on some of the standards I pulled from the Planning Advisory Service Report, number 510, 511. I attached a short summary of that and gave it to you guys. I just typed up those standards. I also included a state requirement that requires the sufficient space from the entrance of the car wash to the street line for the amount of cars that can be serviced in a 15-minute period. The applicant stated tonight that that would be 15 cars. They now have 20 cars in that. They have 20 cars in their stacking line. But it is still the commission. It's up to you guys to determine if that is adequate. They also satisfy the lighting requirements. However, the lighting plan submitted reflects the old site plan, but we put a condition that should take care of that into the approval. Erosion control measures have been proposed, and based on the application materials, it appears that they generally satisfy the special exception criteria, with the exceptions of items 7, 8, and 9. Those items all deal with the circulation on-site, the exit and entry designs and capacity for the use, and whether or not they would cause any traffic. At our last meeting, I think one of our biggest concerns was the applicants being so close to the fire department. I also circulated to you guys a letter from the fire marshal stating that all of his concerns were addressed. And I did add conditions, and if you'd like me to go over them, we can do that as well, but that's my summary.
Thank you, Evan. I do have a few questions. Sure. Oh, Mr. Porter. Yes.
I'm sorry. We would also acknowledge that because the site plan has been modified, that we have to appear before wetlands again. We have previously obtained wetlands approval for the plan that we explained on the 16th of September, but that has now been changed. So we are scheduled to, well, depending how tonight goes, we likely will be on the wetlands agenda for the 9th of December.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I got a few questions. Excuse me?
Does the public comment for this plan?
Public will absolutely have a right to comment. But before we get to open up the public, just a few questions. Yeah. Is this an entrance only on the left? I guess is that correct? Yes. Yes, it is. Okay. And the My recollection is that this was going to be a membership car wash, open to the public, but also for membership. And I noticed you have two lines when you get close to the beginning. Is one a membership line and one a public line, or what?
Yes, that's exactly correct. So that, it's exactly correct. One is for members and one is for non-members or just general public, correct?
Okay, so I'm just trying to see, so there's a potential, if, for example, everyone were members, they'd all be in the one line, or do they both, would both sides work for both members? And both sides work for members, but only one side works for the public? I'm just trying to figure this out. Do you know?
Understood. Go ahead, Nick.
Yes, sir. Both lanes have kiosks. So let's say even though somebody gets in the members lane, they could still use card-to-card or an option to pay.
Okay,
So in lane one also, if you're a member and you decide to sneak through lane one because it's gonna go quicker for you, you can have that option too, because the reader is in lane one also.
okay. What I was wondering about is if you could have you say you have 20, but if they all had to go in one line, you lose like 5 or 4 or 5 or something. Right,
It's just to keep things moving at a quicker pace.
okay.
No hold up. So there's the option at both terminals.
Okay, so you, either member or non-member could use both terminals, okay?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like once you're in the line, you're stuck in the line, right? I mean, you can't decide, when you're halfway through, whoops, I want to go out, right?
You can bail out right away when you see it along the line.
Yeah, you can not go in, but once you're in it,
Once you're in the line,
once you're in the
yes,
line,
but
you're
if you
committed,
didn't want
right?
to enter the car wash,
Right.
you can exit right out.
Right, so,
There's no bail out here.
Yes.
You could go, if you don't want to get in the tunnel, you could bail out, go into the exit.
okay, where's the payment?
Pavement is this gray, is all this gray.
Oh, no, excuse me, where do you pay to go in?
Pay it back.
Yeah.
Okay, so you could pay and reserve it for later and just not, okay, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, so once you're in the line, you're in the line till you get to that point, okay. Question about the exits. I think the last time you had a lot more vacuums and you eliminated a bunch. What was, I suppose part of that's because of the site.
Yes, sir.
Is there any question, though, that you have enough? I'm assuming that people are gonna pay for their car wash, and includes a vacuum. Could there be a potential issue that, since people go through one a minute, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it looks like there's 7 vacuums, there used to be
9.
or whatever,
9 total right now.
9 total now?
9, right? Oh, it was 9, sorry. It is 7.
It looks like 7.
Yeah, it is 7.
So
It was
it looks like, I'm wondering about a possibility that they could all be full, because the thing goes through 1 a minute, but it's gonna take you 5, 10 minutes to vacuum your car. Is that situation, people running through and not be able to vacuum? I don't know if they'll be able to come back later, and
They have the
I don't know
option
how.
to come back later, and because they're free, we have the same system we have in Hamden right now. So the nice thing is, because they're free, even when they pack up, well, because they're free, people just exit and come back because they know they can use them later on anytime they want.
Okay, so anyone, actually, if you haven't even bought a car wash, you can potentially just go in and vacuum your car? Okay.
Well, cars, customers, members.
Okay. What about in terms of it sounds like the difficulty in exiting is the left turn, which you said is a level service E or F.
Neil would know this more.
Right. The left turn is there a potential stacking issue of people wanting to make a left turn on a peak time, and do you have enough time to do that? Because again, you're feeding, everyone's coming out. Could like 3 cars that want to make a left turn hold everything up?
In theory, they could hold things up for a tiny, it wouldn't be a very long period of time. Actually, when we did our analysis, and it's kind of buried in the appendix, the typical worst-case queue, or what they say call the 95th percentile queue for that left, is like just about 2 cars. Most often, you're only going to have 1 car who's going to have to wait a tiny bit to turn out. If you have a couple cars, again, they're going to clear out, eventually. I mean, They're gonna clear out after 30, 40 seconds. And don't expect it to back up. And I mean, if cars do rarely queue up 4 or so into that vacuum area, it's not gonna be the end of the world, because we have the space on site. And it's gonna be a pretty rare occasion for that to occur. And the right turnout is really gonna help things, you know,
Sure.
for your typical conditions.
Sure. Marcy?
What's the distance of the roadway behind the parallel spaces? Is there room for 2 cars? So you could have one right lane of right-hand
Within the
turns and
site.
a left lane? Or is it-
Do you have a scale on it?
18 feet wide.
18 feet? So, I mean, your typical car is usually less than 7 feet wide,
Like
so.
two 10-foot lanes minimum. But I'm just saying,
Mhm.
could you have one lane of right-hand turns and then the left, could they swing around if there's a queue?
So we're exactly talking.
So you've got the angled parking,
Yep.
the width of the road just below the angled parking,
It's
if that
18
was
feet.
wide enough,
Right.
could you have the free right along the curb and then a secondary left-hand lane for the left-hand turners?
There might be some ability to widen this out to 20 feet and achieve what you're talking about, I think, per the regs. But, I mean, like I said, even your typical big size pickup truck is like 7.5 feet wide. They're gonna be able to get 2 by here if need be. And, you know, if you have a couple cars here trying to take a left out, it might be a little tight, but cars will be able to get out and take a right. And on the rare occasions that it might get a little queued up here, it's gonna clear out eventually. You know, not like a long time, but level service FE, we're talking 50 to 60 seconds. And that is, it's gonna clear out. That's during the busiest times of the day as well. You know, mid-afternoon, like later in the evening, or, you know, in the middle of the day when traffic is less on Route 1, it'll be even easier to get out. So I hope I answered your question.
I'm just thinking of those occasions where the highway's backed up and Route 1 gets particularly busy and, you know, maybe the fire department needs to get out.
Mhm.
If, you know, if you had 2 lanes of traffic, one to go out left, one to go free right, you know, they could divert and all go left in that scenario because, you know, the traffic's slow in one direction or the other. But if the road's not wide enough, you're tightening up
I mean-
people from backing out or having 2 cars pass. It just
In-
seems to lengthen the queue for the exiters,
Mhm.
that's all.
I mean, it is wide enough in reality, it might not meet the regs,
Okay,
but based on just the widths of the vehicles we have on the roads,
okay.
it is wide enough.
Fred, questions?
I'd like to ask the property owner a question.
Sure thing.
I actually have 2 questions. How long do those vacuums run? When someone's vacuuming, is it limited? Is it automatic on and off, like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
It's not the type of vacuums you're thinking, the stainless steel, like self-serve vacuums. We use an arch system that runs off of a producer that's in the actual equipment room in the back room. This producer runs off of a VFD technology, allows the motor to slow up, slow stop. If one person's at the vacuum acts like 5 horsepower. It's all about energy efficiency.
Well, I guess my question is, if I wanted to vacuum my car for 10 minutes, could I do that?
Yeah.
Does that seem?
And I put free Windex and paper towel out there for the customer to use.
That's one, well, I'm just thinking about, we're talking about queuing cars and stuff. And if one person pulls in and decides to be a little fanatical with their car, and they spend 10 minutes as opposed to a predetermined time like those tanks have, the predetermined time almost moves the cars along. If someone can take their blessed time for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or whatever they want to do, they can really mess up the queue of the cars that are in the slots getting, the cars vacuumed. That's just one question. The second question I have is, you have a car wash in Camden, I think you said, over on Skip Street. How many cars do you queue up there?
Right now, I'm 27 total. So just a few more than this location here.
Okay.
And I have a gas station there too.
Yeah,
So that
I'm
includes the
actually
gas
property.
station into the queuing.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to get some kind of a comparison, because I think there's someone in the audience that owns a car wash in town.
Yes, sir, gentleman here.
Yeah, and I'm just curious what his queue is, because that would be a realistic number, at least in town. I'm just trying to get a gauge. I'm not saying it's not enough or too many.
You would have to ask that gentleman.
Yeah,
but he has a large queue there too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I want to see if this is the smallest queue.
But
Car
going
washes
back to your
around.
first question on the predetermined vacuum, it's only
Yeah.
predetermined if you run out of quarters. So for the normal customer that sits there, well, it's $1 vacuum. So you're gonna sit there as long as it takes to clean your car. So if it takes you $2 and it takes you 10 minutes, you're gonna sit there for 10. I mean, you're not gonna go only do half the side because it stopped on you. You're gonna keep going with quarters. The nice thing about what we do is those old vacuums, one, they're very inefficient, okay? Two, when our system runs, we're using brand new technology at such vacuum pressure, vacuum suction, that if using my vacuum in Hamden, you're actually doing the car in a much faster pace because it's such a better vacuum. Not only that, we leave crevice tools to get in between the seats and this and that. So it leaves the customer the chance to get in, get out a little bit quicker than the old school vacuum that was kind of about half the power of this, if not less.
Yeah, I think the concern that I have is moving the cars. They're moving from the street onto your property, into a queue, into a tunnel, possibly getting them vacuumed more than likely they would, and then out of there. And when I hear 60 cars an hour, I don't know if that's, maybe I can do that, just line them all up, but just see me that realistically, it would probably take more time than a minute a car just to queue them up and get in line. But all I want to do is, in my mind, because I don't know anything about car washes, except that we have people that own them, including yourself, and I would like to compare what you're proposing to what you already have, what somebody else may already have, just to see if there's some correlation to all this.
Well, what I already have in Hamden is, like the first time I presented it to the council here, is a unique situation where we have an express exterior, meaning we don't vacuum the car, we don't do the inside. We're a lower price car wash, and we have a lot more equipment, and the tunnel does everything. From the tire shine to towel drying the car, I mean, not towel drying, blowing the car off much more efficiently, meaning we have like 10 blowers inside the place. Hamden's 9, exactly, okay? I've worked on other locations that have up to 12 blowers. Car comes out great. This location here, we'd be using even newer technology called a top brush buff and dry machine, which is actually used with a chamois material on the outside of the car to get the car really dry. So it's all about going in an express, faster pace to move. So we're not stalling the customer. It's kind of like the kiosk technology in the beginning, okay? The first time I was sitting in front of you, even the screens move at a certain pace. So if you're not moving quick enough, it helps you move along. And we even keep a guy there at our kiosk to help the customer that needs it. Now, there might be 2 of them, and we're able to use just 1 person, okay? But going off of the pricing, we actually get a lot more people becoming members. That means nobody's rolling down the window anymore. It sucks I lose the interaction with a great customer, but it's a lot more quicker for the customer to come in, come out, and there's a lot less interaction to slow the pace of the whole system down. And once the customer does it the first time, my father's great guy, 65, still loves his flip phone better than his iPhone. He hates it. He hates it. But after the second time using it, even he figured out how to use it, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. I even showed him how to use his phone to actually pay for the darn thing, which is even faster. So it's all about the new style technology. I don't want you out of the car. When you get out of the car at the exit of the car wash, if the vacuums are open, well, you get to pull in, and there's a spot for you. There's free Windex, paper towels, everything you need to clean the inside of your car at your convenience, at your, discretion on how you want to clean it. Not waiting for quarters to run out, and it's a powerful system, so you're able to get in, get out a much quicker pace. even in Hamden in the beginning, it was a little tough in the beginning, getting customers used to a system, but yeah, once or twice, people in and out pretty easy. I mean, I'm sure we all remember mobile had speed pass at one time. I remember a lot of people laughed at it, but once they saw their friend just walk up to a pump and go like this and pay, they're like, where do I get that information? And that's kind of the concept behind it all. So the vacuums, yeah, there's gonna be times where they completely jam up across the street if we get the chance to put it in. But at the same time, the opportunity for the customer to come back and use it when at their discretion is their convenience.
You mentioned, how many vacuums do you have in Hamden?
12 right now.
And there's 7 here. I could see someone saying, hey, I love your vacuums because of all the reasons you said, and they pull out of there and there's all 7 are occupied and says, well, I'm just gonna wait till one of them pulls out, and that ends up slowing causes a backup or whatever. I
mean, we
do you
keep
see that
signs out
happen?
on, even in Hamden, like, please no stopping, no waiting. Occasionally you get a customer that does that, but it doesn't usually happen. We don't get it jammed up. It just doesn't, Oh, yeah, we have employees there that will keep moving them along.
And you have three parking spaces here for employees, is that?
Yes, sir.
And how many do you intend to normally have on site?
Typical day, anywhere between mostly 2 people. Third person, a few hours out of the day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Massimo, do you have questions?
I'm intrigued by the technology of that. It sounds pretty cool. The study that was done with the traffic, was it done like with what's capable of what that car wash does per hour?
You would have to ask Neil that, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, full capacity. Is it done at full capacity? Because it seems like it would be a pretty busy car wash.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at a similar car wash in Glastonbury. That, to my understanding, is the same technology. And, I mean, the ability to process the cars at 1 a minute through the car wash is really just going to help get them into, really, it's going to help service the queue so that 20 car queue pre-car wash front door, I guess you would say, just doesn't back up.
So, yeah, it would help the entrance of that. You think, did you account for the exit of that?
Yeah, again, we looked at, I mean, the Glastonbury data is pretty comparable, and that site, we looked quickly, has similar amount of traffic along its frontage on the roadway there. So it's pretty similar, pretty darn similar condition. Yeah, I would say it's good. Our analysis does take that into account.
It does.
Yeah.
And the fire marshal also understood that capacity of level of cars
You guys met with them?
was
yeah.
presented to the fire marshal that way.
Mhm.
Cool. And if somebody's waiting to get a vacuum done after a car wash, where are they gonna wait?
Well, I think what Nick was saying, and he could speak better to how it actually operates.
Because it seems like if you got these 20 cars coming, you got 7, and I want to get a car wash, she wants to get a car wash, and we're waiting for the vacuum, where are we all gonna wait?
Well,
There. Does that
Not,
occur?
I don't think 100% of the people who get a car wash will get a vacuum as well. And the convenience of the vacuum, from what I understand, is people can come back and just get a vacuum. They can come back later. If they see that the 7 vacuum spaces are full, they're going to say, I don't want to waste my time and wait. And I don't want to muck up the works and block the people behind me. Most people are pretty considerate. They're just going to come back a different time. Not everybody who's getting a car wash is getting a vacuum at the same exact time. That's just not really what really typically happens.
So if it is full though, and I want to wait, where would I wait?
I mean, let me take a look. I mean, you really wanted to wait. And
Yeah.
you would, more than likely, you'd come up here, see if things are full.
Yeah.
You'd probably back up a tad here. And this being, I want to say 18 feet here as well, you're not necessarily going to block anybody who wants to go around. That's what's likely to happen. And again, if I'm coming through here and I see everything's full,
So the
Most
answer
people are just
is
gonna
there's no
come back
waiting.
every time.
The answer, sir, is that there is really no waiting. There's no room on the site for people to sit and wait, which is what Mr. Bagnata had said. If there's employees there to keep people moving, if all the vacuum spaces are full, that customer would have to come back at a time when the spaces were not full. There's not a space for that customer to wait to see when a space opens up. So the queue is on the property, the queue's for the car wash. There's more than sufficient space for the cars to line up to get washed. Not every customer is going to be able to get his or her car vacuumed at the time that he or she may wish.
The attendants, there'll be one at pretty much the kiosks there?
Correct.
And then one, where would the other one be?
Well,
To help that issue out, would they be stationed there to help people out and control that matter? Or, I don't know how that would be controlled.
right. So I would tell you there's two things. First of all, there's going to be signage, if needed, that says no stop, okay? And I think people, like all other drive-throughs, learn to utilize the site in a manner that works, right? So there's going to be a learning curve, and then people are going to understand if the vacuums are full, they're going to have to move along and come back. The employees will be staffed in a way that will be dispersed so that it maintains order on the site. There's going to be one employee that's going to be helping with the kiosk, and there's going to be one employee that's going to be helping people move onto the conveyor belt, right? There's no pre-wash, there's no pre-spray, there's none of that. We explained that the last time.
Yeah.
And to the extent that there's somebody that's backing up, that's causing a problem, the individual at the kiosk would walk over to that individual, tap on the glass, and say, please come back at a later day when there's a space that's available for you to vacuum your car.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commission members? Then we'll open this up to the public. Any member of the public wish to comment, you come forward.
Ron Manning, 938 West Main. I actually had an opportunity to talk to you 2 months ago when this application initially came in. Some of it has been resolved in my mind. Some of it still leaves you questions. One of the things I tried to stress with you, and I think is a pivotal part of this, is on paper, we create what's going to happen on the footprint. But we also know that's not what happens. So my point 2 months ago was the exceptions that occur and how do they affect things. And you would still have to review that and consider that. Now, one of the key things that was struck tonight, one of the key points, is that you have free vacuums. I want you to think about that for a minute. Free vacuums. You're going to control the pulse into free vacuums. When people know anything's free, you create a line. Name something that ever goes free that people don't seek out. So you're going to put people on that driveway looking for free whether they're washing or not. They're just going to show up because of that. Now, your exception becomes increase the loading capacity, but your exception on this is going to be, what if the overflow to get into that vacuum area? Now, I understand you got an attendant that's going to go down and tap on the glass. I tap on the glass all day. That's easier said than done, just so you know. You still got to get that person to move the vehicle. We're not talking about something that you lift up like a stroller and move it in another direction. We're talking about a car that's got to re-navigate itself. So if that lot becomes congested, there is a problem. The other last thing, I read the memo from the chief, which was a pivotal part 2 months ago of me. I still believe, and I still want you to think about this, that when the light locks, you momentarily have a stop here in everything. So you're not only going to have a stop on traffic, you're going to actually have a stop in that business, whatever business is there, has got a momentary pause. Okay, so 2 months ago, we went to 90 cars a day. Now we're kind of at 50 or 60. That's not going to happen, folks. I'm telling you, for a snowflake, it's not going to happen. So we still have those issues that have to be resolved. And are those exceptions impactful or not? I think they are. Your vote will clear that. The other point in this is in the traffic study that was presented tonight, you're talking about discharging cars off of the property, and you create spacing. Did anybody ever go to Big Y or Stop and Shop and see people park in the lines? So you're gonna tell me when trucks are leaving this car wash, everybody, all day, whatever the vehicle, they're gonna line up properly so you have two? It's not gonna happen. What happens when the person gets over here? Now you got a car that can't get out, can't fit on that second spot. You can't control that. All day at my wash, I spend what we call foot traffic, boots on the ground, keeping people in line, keeping them moving up, keeping them off of their cell phone. These are all the things that are going to happen. So all the improvements are great. You still have to deal with exceptions in the course of your day. That is a labor-intense function of any business, is what they have to oversee and the exceptions they have to take care of. So I think under normal conditions, it'll work. What happens on that day of chaos? What happens on that day where it's a little more demand than the paper dictates? Changes everything. So I would ask you to review that in your mind. Thank you.
Before you go,
Thank you.
a question.
Loading
How many cars
capacity?
can you queue up in your place?
I'm close to about 45 cars.
You can queue 45 cars?
Yeah, because I have, you know, if you know my property, it's very deep,
Yes.
and we have a loop, all right?
So would you consider an exception to the rule having 45? Is that seems pretty,
It's not, and Nikki's got way more than 27, by the way. Just so you know, it's not. It's not. One of the things that's different about mine is that because I'm full service, there's a different time delivery of the service than somebody that stays in their car. So that's something that's got to navigate, that I have to navigate all the time. And that's why I talk about exceptions. Because when my lot is full, everybody's trying to do the right thing. The customers are trying to do the right thing. But a car getting out of line, somebody that's not sure, somebody that's not paying attention, all these things impact what occurs in the day. Car washes work perfect when everything is perfect. The stars align, everything's great. That's a couple days a year that everything works perfect. We take care of exceptions all day. So the idea that, even doing a car at a minute, I mean, let's think about that for a minute. Maybe the equipment, you could fire it up to a minute. I think if I notch mine up all the way, I could probably run a minute. The water might not hit the car in a minute, but you'll get a minute out of it. I could speed it up to do that. My big question would be this, though. If you built a 1,000 horsepower engine, would you try and tell the police officer that the car will only do 25 and that's all you're going to do in it? You'd look at him and go, why'd you just build a 1,000 horsepower engine? So if you got the capability to do a car in a minute, you ain't worried about 90 cars a day. Just think about that, right? You don't put that much technology into doing a car in a minute unless you're planning on doing volume. The two go together. So I would ask you to think about that.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I know your car wash, once they're done vacuuming, how long would you say it takes the car to get through to where they're then drying it?
Listen, it's not as long as, this is what I want you to think about. My tunnel is not 126 feet. Mine's closer to 96.
So, okay.
I'd love to have the 126. But you're talking about a 2 minute, 3 minute to get through.
And it has 3 or 4 cars in it? Well,
Yeah, I can run, listen, I routinely try to run 3 cars at a time.
Okay.
You know, that's on an economics issue, and I mean, everybody's got an economics issue. I mean, you
Right.
have to do it, right? Dunkin' Donuts has got to produce X amount of coffees in a day. So yeah, that's the economics issue for me. I've got to push that. My site is not applicable to what is being proposed. And
Right.
that's because people are getting out of the car,
Have to
we're
walk in to pay,
vacuuming, we're
right.
doing all of those things. That model may change over years. You know, there's not a lot of people that want to do what we do right now because they don't want the labor. That's the big thing.
Can people, once they get in line, get out of line, go around the right side of the?
Yeah, they do.
I wasn't sure if I
They do.
remembered that right.
They
Okay.
do. They do. That's our exit to get people out. In a lot of cases for us, because I have the lube also, there are people that get sucked into the whirlpool and realize they didn't really want to wash.
Right,
So
they
that
get out,
exit's critical for us, that they can
Gotcha.
still utilize my service and get out and not feel overwhelmed. In the case of this application, folks, all I'm asking you to do is review exceptions. There's exceptions.
Just questions. What do you mean by exceptions? What's an example of an exception?
Well, a perfect example of an exception is you have your queue time. You have your cars lined up in whatever it's going to be now. We're 15 cars. We got 15. Cars start going into the tunnel, somebody gets out of their car. That's an exception. Car's not rolling. You know, you're trying to keep that Disney World philosophy going, right? Everybody's moving forward. But not everybody's going to move forward. What if somebody's on their phone? Somebody's reading. Guys bring the newspaper. Somebody's working their coffee. That's one case. Somebody has a problem at the vacuum. Wants to question, and I brought this up 2 months ago, but those are all things that happen that impact your day. Plans are for the perfect scenario. We don't live in the perfect scenario. It's not going to go that way. Somebody's going to get out of their car at the wrong time. Somebody's going to somebody's going to try and access the machine. What if he drops his credit card? Got to get out of the car. Got to get out and get it done. There's a ton of things that can happen in a car wash in the course of doing that. Somebody has a question, wants to get attendance position, stops the car going. Now your whole time of rolling cars changes. Now, let alone what could possibly happen going through a tunnel. There could be things that go on. All of those will impact going out. I mentioned to you, if you have double trucks going out and you have this spot where one's going left, one's going right. Well, what if they don't line up properly and only one truck can get out and the other truck can't squeeze in to make his left turn? It still impacts you. Those are all the things. One of my biggest problems, just to emphasize this point, is that because my customer gets out of the car, and in the infinite wisdom I had, we put a store in. Well, when I get into the winter, I really don't want that person to shop in my store. I want him to get to the car. Now, Nikki doesn't have a store, but they're all things that occur when you're in stress. Those exceptions come out where you go to yourself, geez, maybe we shouldn't have this store, huh? Those are the things that are going to happen. Not all of them can be foreseen by this group, but you are going to have them. There is no doubt you're going to have them.
I have a question for you also.
Go ahead.
I'm familiar with your car wash also, and I just can't remember if you have air dryers before the car goes outside?
Say it again?
Air dryers that dry the car?
Yes.
How many heads do you have?
Mine's a little different. Mine's a no-touch system, so it's a solid bar, solid elephant ears that come down, and that's what drives the car. But understand, again, I'm totally different because I have guys drying the car.
Drying the car out there.
Right.
And the vacuuming takes how long for your guys to do?
Good vacuumers can do a car in 3 minutes. Two vacuumers can do a car in 3 minutes. But that's not you pulling in and doing your car.
My back hurts. I take a little longer.
Yeah, well, so do my employees, by the way, but nonetheless, that's not atypical of a free vacuum. That's not atypical of a free vacuum. When you have a free vacuum, you're getting full utilization out of that tool. Somebody here asked about, what if they take too long? They could take all day. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to control the person that pulls in looking for that slot. Now what happens? To tap on the glass, you got to back out, you got to use the access road, you got to drive over the grass, whatever it is. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen a lot.
You have 49 spots, right, you were saying?
Yeah, I'm somewhere around there.
But yours is different because it takes longer. Your process is much longer
It does.
than that.
It
So
does. I can't process anywhere like an exterior car wash. It's always our goal. The more cars you do, the more cars you do. That's car wash theory.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other
I have one
questions?
question to
Fred?
Jim Preddy.
I'm sorry.
Jim Preddy. If he-
Oh, I'm sorry.
One more time.
Oh.
Sorry. Jim,
Yes, sir.
one last question, then I'm done with this. Plowing snow, the site looks tight, and when these car washes really seem to do their business, when the weather's very bad with snow, I'm just wondering, where is the snow gonna go? There doesn't seem a place to put it. And if you can put it somewhere, it would seem that the island or the queues, those have gotta be clear, but I'm just wondering about snow on the side, where is that gonna be placed?
In this particular site, they would plow the snow down toward this end. The snow would get plowed down here. Keep in mind that when the plows are there, no one else is. And when it's snowing, no one's usually in the car wash either.
Well, I'm just worried about accumulated snow.
Yeah,
You know,
they
after
would
the
push it
snow
da-
is
they would
over
push it
and
down to the end where-
The blades push it up to whatever, it either shortens the lanes or it blocks where the parking is, or, I'm just wondering, I know that there's other issues, with another application I saw that has that issue, where's the snow gonna go? And that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, there are some islands with, or some grass areas, but the majority of it would get pushed down to the end where the detention basin is, which makes the most sense anyway. A couple of things that came up while I was sitting here listening. Our office has been on Route 1 since '96, in a busier part of Route 1. I've been in and out of this site countless times, in and out of that site over the summer, a whole bunch of times across the street. I never waited more than a few seconds to get out of there, either side. Our complex has pediatrician's office, regular offices, a restaurant. It's far more traffic over there. People still seem to get in and out without any trouble. There's a car wash 200 yards away, if that, right next to where Margarita's was. That there's the development's going on there now. There's five or six bays there. I've never seen anybody waiting to leave that site.
I've never seen anybody in it.
I've been there where there's 5 or 6 people in line waiting
Really?
to swipe their card, and no one ever waiting to leave. And taking a left out of there, you're between 139 and exit 55 off of 95. There's a lot of traffic there. And the vacuums are normally empty. Most people, if they have time to run through a automated car wash, they generally don't have time for much else.
Right.
Not a lot. I can't tell you. I've gone through that car wash a number of times. I think I've used the vacuum once in all the years they've been there.
Is that set up under the same theory as this one?
No.
They're not free, but they're available.
I think the only difference is, though, is that where you are at, there's not a fire department across the street from you.
But we've already determined that's not an issue. Wasn't an issue for the chief.
Okay, thank you, Jim. We got other members of the public wish to comment.
Rich Carney, 379 East Main Street, on the car wash he's referring to.
Oh,
I'm sure some of your members have been through it. Left-hand turns, nightmare. So I don't know what he's talking about left-hand turns. I can stack about 30-something cars on a busy day. I have 5 lanes to get the cars through, and it is very hectic. I'm there all the time, walking the line, moving cars around. People get stuck, they don't want to wait any longer. I have an escape lane, a full escape lane. I haven't looked at the plans here, so I don't know what they have, but I do, and when I went in front of the commission, one of the issues we have is an escape lane. Even though I have 5 lanes that you can escape through that aren't gated, or you can just go drive right through them, I was still required to have a full escape lane to go around the entire building to get out, also for emergency vehicles. Vacuums, constant problem with vacuums. I've even had the point where I shut the vacuums down entering the bays that I had in front of the self-serves, because the line gets backed up so far because of the vacuums. And the vacuums are always busy, constantly. And when people come up, they empty their cars, they pull everything out. They are wiping windows. I don't provide towels and Windex because that would just create even more issues. So it is a major problem with vacuuming. And I don't have 9 vacuums, I have less than that. But even with what I do have, it's very, very tough. When someone mentioned snow, snow is very challenging to stack it and move it. I did have a lot of property to stack it on for a while, but as you know now with the development going on around me, that stacking has been kind of removed from me, so it's going to be challenging this year. I have a small backhoe, I might have to bring it down and start using the machine to start piling snow. Because when we do get 2-3 feet, it's not just 2-3 feet here, it's 2-3 feet for 120 feet of pushing. Next thing you know, the snow is 15-20 feet in the air. But yeah, left-hand turn is very challenging. I think my car count is similar to their car count. So it's very hard to make a left-hand turn. A lot of people wind up leaving and making a right because they can't make a left. But the ones that do back up in the left create a problem for cars trying to get out, and I do back up. I have 3 lanes. I have an separate entry lane, I have an exit lane to the right and an exit lane to the left. So I have 3 lanes. And people do wait for the vacuums. They'll come around the corner, and they'll come around my wash where I'm queuing, and they'll sit there and wait for that person to back out. Then when that person backs out, they can't get out. So it does create a major disaster there. And it is what it is. That's the car wash business, and that's why we're there. That's why we walk the line. That's why we move cars around. And granted, in the middle of September, October, it's not that busy. But from December to first snow, right through the pollen season, all the way through the spring, it's full out. And again, I can stack, I believe, 30-something cars, something like that. And I do have 5 lanes to push them out through, and I still back out to Route 1. And I still go to Route 1, and I tell people, I wave them by, don't stop, don't stop. I don't allow them on Route 1. But if I did, they'd be all the way down Route 1 too. That's how busy it gets. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But I wanted to address that, what was just said about no one using vacuums and no one making left-hand turns, because I do it. Every single day it happens there. And we do wash cars in the rain, and we do wash cars in the snow. People don't stop. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Other members of the public, JC?
Good evening, J.C. Wyatt, 84 East Main Street, Branford, Connecticut. Came out of retirement. I have so many concerns I want to bring up right now, sorry. When people are dressing like it's not a big deal that this car wash is not going to make traffic across the street, it will. If you live here, if you drive here, it's the worst property you bought to put something across the street. When you talk about traffic coming from this direction pointing this way, when you would be coming this way, and if there's 20 cars in there and you need to get in there, you will start backing up to the point where these fire engines can't get out of here. If that is a concern to the fire chief, I don't know how he doesn't see that. Because you would have to go around everybody that's on the left side. It's not 2 lanes, it's 1. So we are now building a blockage of cars if there isn't any room inside there. And like you said a minute ago, like you get out of that part next door when you came and did all your reviews and your drawings, there's nothing there. It's an empty construction site. Put a business there, it's gonna be different. I come to meetings here, it's hard to get out of here. And to look at this, I really think this commission should say, guys, go back and redraw it. I think this puzzle is too difficult to look at. I haven't been Escalade. I know it's like to get a car wash. But listen, I wouldn't go here. I wouldn't know if I want to sit there. I could be 5 cars in, I have an emergency. I can't get out of the 6 cars in front of me to get out of there if I had something I had to do. And to come out of here, wait for a vacuum, wait if I could go into this car or not. And listen, if I was at a store and I want to buy something, I want it now. I'm not going to come back and say, hey, I'll get it tomorrow. So I think the theory on these vacuums isn't realistic, I think, on how we are. And if you are going to look at that backlog inside there, it's almost like this has to be redesigned. And I think this commission should ask that. This should have another option on what we're looking at, because I think this 21 cars backing up into this, and then you can't go here, then you can't come out of here, then you're going to go to London to go to the other side to come out of here, to come out and drive. And I just think that these are kind of the confusions that I think that you're hearing from the commission. You guys are concerned about this flow, and I think you should be. Beyond all that, somebody wants to bring a business to town. He's paid $475,000 for this property. What is it going to cost to build this? I mean, this is an investment to the town, but it's also bringing a business that almost doesn't want to be across the street from here. So is there an option to them that there was other locations that they looked at? Is there other properties that we could tell them to, hey, look upon, it might make more sense, this kind of plan for what they're doing? So the next question that I'm going to have is, the owner can answer it. If you go onto Yelp, there's 90% of the complaints about this business in Hamden is customer service, the employees they hired, and they would never go there again. It's all online. If it's fake ads or it's not there, there's pages and pages and pages. I didn't even know to look there, but my head was, wow. We're bringing a business that's going to be spending millions of dollars, that's going to be another customer service problem across from a fire department. And I think, again, this commission should ask them to redraw this plan if they really think that's going to work there. The last thing I want to ask is, I've started a petition to make sure we don't get this location here. I've got the signatures started. So I would ask the commission, if you do extend the public hearing, I will then provide those names. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment? Anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dominic McNaughton. I'm Nick's dad. Just a couple things I'm going to tell you. I've had 16 car washes. I've had this car wash in Branford, 1987. I ran it as an exterior car wash, okay? It does not have 47 spaces, okay? And it didn't cause any problems. We didn't have lines down to Branford, and I had open at 99 cents. Okay, the right-hand turn worked fine. Back then, the left-hand turn worked fine. Now, I have a car wash in Whaley Avenue in New Haven. We have a lot of vacuums, and we have our problem there as far as customers backing out and leaving, okay? But for the most, really for the most, people who vacuum wash their cars, okay? There's no question about it, okay? The thing about it is this, though. The winters are not like it used to be. We all know that, okay? You're not going to have lines down the street. I wish that was the case, but it's not anymore, okay? Global warming is there. Winters are not coming back. That's for sure. Regarding this beautiful fire department, hey, he's the chief. Nobody should look at this man and say, maybe he missed something, okay? He didn't miss anything. He's a professional, and he's the chief of Branford, Connecticut, okay? Nikki has worked by my side for a lot of years. Ron Manning has worked by my side, as well as worked for me, okay? Great guy, great operator, okay? But at the end of the day, there's always more room for two businesses. How many gas stations do you have in this town? Okay? So if you have 2 car washes, so be it, okay? That's all there is to it. I mean, it's not that complicated. That lot across the street, you don't want to see that lot. I am sure the townspeople don't want to see that dump, okay? And I know my son, because I've trained him. If you have snow on that property, we're going to get tractors. He's going to get a tractor and a dump truck and have it hauled off. He's going to hire somebody, okay? That's for sure. Because first of all, we hate snow, okay? And I do that at my business, and it's a much bigger facility at Whaley Avenue. You know, looking at Yelp, take it for what it's worth. You never see too many great things. Fortunately, my car wash is great on Yelp and every other media thing out there. So he's a great operator. Ronnie knows he's a good operator. I do, okay? He took a piece of property that sat into disaster, made it something, he's gonna make it something. Yes, he's gonna have money invested in it, but you know what? That big investment is gonna be personal property tax for the town, that's for sure. When you have $700,000 worth of equipment, I don't know what the mill rate is here, that's helping this community, okay? So you can pick my brain. I've been in it for 49 years, and I'm not going anyplace. So anything you'd like, I have some good answers. Hi.
I know how busy Whaley Avenue is, so I'm just curious, do you have to exit left, and are they crossing 2 lanes of traffic? And if so, how long
Not
is
a
the
problem.
stacking
We
to
have
make
a-
that left?
Sorry, when you leave my car wash, we have a light right there,
Okay.
okay? No, we've never had an accident in 18 years in front of the car wash. We never had any municipality come to me and say, hey, you gotta do something. When I had a car wash in White Plains, New York, it was a nightmare. We used to have to hire a patrol officer, okay, on a real busy day. And we did that as a safety for the people in the community in the town.
Right.
Because my family is all from White Plains. Nobody wants to get anybody hurt. Nobody wants smashed cars. And like I said, I've had, I think it's 16 car washes. So I hope that answered you.
Well, the light answers the question.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Are there members of the public wish to comment? Does the applicant wish to respond to these public comments?
All right, thank you very much, and I'm sorry that this has taken as much time as it has. So, real quick. As Mr. Bignata indicated, the commission's decision has to be predicated on the evidence that's been presented, and I would ask you to consider the following. Number 1, staff has recommended approval of this project. They've looked at the entire project. The design, the redesign, the traffic study, the memo from the fire chief. I met with the fire chief along with Mr. Preety personally. He said he had no objection. That's the final authority on the issue. The chief was fine with the proposal, with the project, with the use. I didn't anticipate this much conversation with regard to the vacuums. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not a problem. It solves itself. If they're full, they're not used. A person can simply come back. If a person doesn't like this type of car wash, they don't have to go to it. That's why there's choices. In terms of the traffic, the commission didn't ask us to get a traffic engineer. They asked us questions that required the analysis of a traffic engineer. They were good questions. We provided a traffic engineer. Left-hand turns are a problem. I said this 2 months ago. They're a problem in this town, in every other town in the state of Connecticut, and in every state in the country. But they're done. They're done by the operators that came up here and spoke to you. One may wonder what the motivation of those comments is. There's room for more car washes. I get competition is scary, but it doesn't make the left-hand turns any worse here than anywhere else. And those sites all operate. So please, give this the consideration it's required. If there's any other questions, we're happy to answer them. I know you have other things to move along to. But this is a good use in a site that is dilapidated. It is not any benefit to the town right now. So those are our thoughts. Because we need to get wetlands approval, you know, I don't think the commission could take this up on a vote, right, Evan? So, yeah. But we have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the commission members? Okay, what we need to decide is whether we close the public hearing or continue the public hearing. They have to go back to full wetlands because they redesigned the plan. So wetlands is gonna, I don't know, we'll get their report. So there will be something else that we haven't heard yet, although I don't know if it's gonna say much or whatever. So we can't vote because we can't do anything until wetlands decides, and they're not meeting till December. So, do you?
Let's say we should continue the hearing. They can't do anything, we can't do anything. Let's continue it.
Okay, so there is one additional piece of information. We did have one member of the public say she wanted to submit a petition, but and she hadn't, if we continued the public hearing, so we hadn't. And that's another
Is that
request.
petition ready for tonight?
I don't know.
I believe we're out of time tonight without a time extension, so that
Okay.
would need to be offered by the applicant. Also, just for the record, somebody, I think Mr. Porto mentioned, we have a traffic study by a professional engineer, and we do, but that person is David Sullivan, who signed the traffic study. I believe Mr. Olinsky is a transportation planner, if I'm not mistaken. So he signed himself that way on the report, just to be clear.
So you said we have
We have the traffic report here in writing, so most of, I understand what he was talking about in terms of the conclusions from the study were the conclusions from a study that was conducted under the auspices of David Sullivan, who's a PE.
Okay.
And Mr. Olinsky is not a traffic engineer, he's a transportation planner, just to clarify.
Okay. Mr. Porto, do you have a problem if we want to continue the hearing?
I don't see why we need to.
Mr. Chairman, the question is to continue to leave the public hearing open
Correct.
so that a petition could be put
You
into?
can hear a petition. I don't know if anyone else, I haven't read this report that you submitted tonight. I don't know. I may want to take a look at it and see what it says and have further questions. I don't anticipate anything right now, but I don't know. And there was a lot of new information presented for the first time this evening.
Closing the public hearing, does that preclude us from asking questions?
Yes.
It also precludes us from putting any additional information into the record.
Right. They can't put any additional information in. And, yeah, that's essentially what it means. And we know additional information is going to come in from wetlands. I don't know what it'll say, but I don't know. So something else we know is coming in. And there was a lot of new stuff presented for the first time this evening.
Give me
I
one
think
second,
we're-
please. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Again, appreciate all your time this evening. I can provide a email to staff allowing the commission to hold the public hearing open.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Okay, so we'll consider you've offered a time extension on the record, just verbally here.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Great.
I mean,
Okay.
we'd like the email also, but just
Okay.
And I
because
will-
of allowing commissioners.
So that's correct. You do consent to the extension to the December 9th.
That is
the next
correct, we
meeting,
do.
right? Okay, great.
And just so it's on the record, our calculations as staff are that the maximum 100-day period would be December 11th, so we're just squeezing it in.
Okay. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this matter will be continued to our December
9th.
9th meeting. Thank you. Thank you. That brings us to our next items, which are items number 4, 5, and 6, which are all the Summit Place application, Branford Summit Apartments LLC, 5 and 13 Summit Place. Includes a zoning map amendment to add Commerce Park to the CB zone, to the an incentive housing overlay zone designation to certain properties. A special exception multifamily IHOD development, and also special exception grading 6.8 for the IHOD development. Is the applicant ready to proceed?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commission members, staff, Attorney Nicholas Minjone, Fasano, Ippolito, Lee, and Florentine. 3 offices in New Haven, Branford, and East Haven. I am the named applicant representing Branford Summit Apartments with regards to Phase 3 of the Summit Place project. Again, as already stated, this is for 3 separate applications, 2 special exception applications and a zone change with a map amendment. Current zone of the property is a CP zone, and we're proposing furthering the IHOD zone, or the Incentive Housing Overlay District, over to 5 and 13 Summit Place. We have previous approvals for 14, 21, and 22 Summit Place, which were phases 1 and 2 of the project. Notices have been provided to staff already with regards to this meeting. One, we apologize that we've tabled this meeting several times. The purpose of doing so, however, was we were working with staff directly with regards to their concerns. We've met with Harry and staff, and we've met with fire on a couple occasions to fine-tune the application before the board. So what we wanted was a comprehensive application in front of the board with a comprehensive plan that had the voices of the town being reflected in the same, and I think that we've achieved that. When looking at the IHOD zone, as with Phase 1 and Phase 2, what you're looking to do is to establish workforce housing in both a residential and/or commercial district that has connections to transportation, nearby access to amenities, services, and infrastructure of the town, and also concentrated levels of development. We've already established through phases 1 and 2 of vibrant residential component on the cul-de-sac of Summit Place, which will allow the workforce housing to access the bus lines that are on West Main Street, on the corner of West Main Street and Summit Place. Also walking access through sidewalks to gain access to the commercial centers that are right there. IHOD zones are also mainly focused to infill development that's sensitive to surrounding areas in characteristics of underutilized areas. As we've previously presented during Phase 1 and Phase 2, the original plan for Summit Place originated in 1980 with an apartment plan that was there. And since that application, that area has been incredibly underutilized and started to go downhill for a while in underutilized buildings until the applicant took over, established Phase 1, established the area in Phase 2, and now hopes to continue establishing the area in Phase 3. What we have, again, we have a proposal of a 1-building Phase 3 consisting of 48 units. I'm going to turn it over to our project engineer, who again assisted with staff, came up with the development of this. We will then turn it over to our architect to discuss the design that we've come up with, and hope that we'd be able to hear the public and close the public hearing tonight.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with SLR Consulting. And just to walk you through our site plan, attempt to be brief, but this plan represents an aerial graphic of our site. And for the purposes of this application, I'm going to be referring to 5 Summit Place and 13 Summit Place which currently are two distinct properties, as the parcel, as one parcel. And this property is highlighted overall in yellow, bold yellow, with north facing me, West Main, Route 1 to the right on the sheet, the terminus of Summit Place, the cul-de-sac to the left, and the previous phases that were noted. It's phase 2 to the south of the site, phase 1 to the southwest of the site. On the opposite side of Summit Place is currently a U-Haul self-storage building, and to the north is commercial properties along Route 1, and to the west is town of Branford land, open space essentially, and the wetland corridor. So this property is about 3 acres in size total, and the vast majority of the site today is developed. And the most recent user of the property in this building on the northern side of the site was Branford Hall Career Institute, and that is no longer in operation. They had a pretty extensive parking lot with a number of spaces surrounding the building, and then the parcel to the south, which is 5 Summit Place, was used solely as parking for in support of Branford Hall. So in total, there was about 2 acres of impervious surface with 161 parking spaces in total as part of the prior use. And the site is bifurcated by a retaining wall with a grade change going from approximately 136 in the upper lot down to a low area of about 120 in the behind the building currently. And then there is a fairly extensive slope going down to the wetland corridor on the eastern side of the property, which is a fill slope that was put in place at the time of the original development of Summit Place. In terms of on-site drainage, there is no formal drainage stormwater system, stormwater detention system rather, and the upper parking lot is drained to Summit Place, and the portion along Summit Place on the lower lot also drains to Summit Place, and the rear portions of the property all drain off-site towards the wetland. And what we're looking to do is essentially remove all the improvements that you see on the property today and construct a new single building in the northeast portion of the site. This building will contain 48 multifamily dwelling units, which Mr. Sullivan, the architect, will go into more detail in terms of the unit matrix, unit sizes, things of that nature. But the building itself will be a split building with 2 stories on the southern portion of the site and 3 stories on the northern portion of the site. Again, this is to take advantage of the grade change that I brought up when reviewing the existing condition, with a upper elevation in the range of 133 to 135 near the turnaround area to the south of the building, and then again down to about 122 to the northern portion of the site. Parking will be achieved via access point to near the cul-de-sac and also roughly the existing driveway access to the north. And for parking, we have a total of 86 spaces, and based on your regulations for the unit matrix, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom studios, 74 are required. So we have a little bit more spaces than what are required by your regulations. In terms of loading, we do provide for a loading space in the northern portion of the site, and also the turnaround area that we have on the 2-story portion of the property can also serve for loading and unloading purposes. An important aspect of this site is connectivity with the other phases of the Summit Place development. It is the intent of the applicant to provide access to the community center in phase 2, which is located here in this lighter shade of beige, for the phase 3 residents. So the residents in phase 3 will have pedestrian access to the community center and a top lot just off our sheet to the west of the cul-de-sac. And as part of this, we are providing a fairly sizable portion of open space between the community center and our parking lot. And this open area will consist of a dog park, which will be available to, again, not only phase 3, but also phase 2 and phase 1 residents, and an open lawn area for passive outdoor recreation, gatherings, things of that nature. In terms of landscaping, we are providing an extensive landscaping enhancement along Summit Place and along the commercial properties to the north, while maintaining the existing vegetated slope to the eastern portion of the site. In terms of site lighting, we're providing a site light that is consistent with other phases of the development. And also, we're enhancing the street lights along Summit Place by replacing some of the dilapidated old fixtures that are there today, and enhancing the streetscape corridor with 3 additional street lights along Summit Place. In terms of the site utilities, we're attempting to mimic, to the extent possible, the drainage patterns that exist today, with a portion of the parking area draining towards Summit Place, and a portion of the building and parking area draining to the wetland to the rear. Now, it may not be evident from the images I've shown you, but we're having a substantial reduction in impervious surface as a result of our proposed conditions. So with the reduction in impervious surface, maintaining similar drainage patterns, we expect, and we've calculated, a decrease in the volume and rate of runoff both to Summit Place and to the wetland corridor to the east. Along with our decrease in runoff, we're also providing improvements in water quality by first allowing stormwater to discharge into a series of underground stormwater galleries before they fill up, and then allow excess stormwater to enter into the drainage system. So we're improving the quality of the water that's leaving the site, and we're reducing the quantity of the water that's leaving the site. The property or the building will be served by water, public water, with a fire main, sprinkler line, and a domestic water service line. Sanitary sewer will be directed to an existing town-maintained sewer line on the north side of the property. And at this time, I believe the building will be primarily served by electric, although natural gas is available. In terms of sediment erosion control, we do provide a detailed sediment erosion control plan that is designed in accordance with the 2002 guideline for erosion and sediment control by the DEEP. It includes provisions for temporary sediment traps, diversion berms, construction entrance pads, silt fence, hay bales, all the things that you normally see for a site of this magnitude. We have also gotten approval from the Inland Wetlands Commission, and we did review the site plan with your fire marshal's office, and they did have some concerns initially about our turnaround area. We had a center island that was vegetated. They had requested that it be some sort of a mountable center island, so we replaced it with a stamped concrete paver pattern, which still has an aesthetic quality to it, but will allow a fire truck to enter directly in without having to negotiate going around the turn. So we believe we've met his requirements with this revision. Mr. Smith also had a number of items on his list that our latest set of plans that were submitted a couple days ago, I believe, address, or at least a majority of them, we hope. And the remaining items, I hope, are minor in nature, but I'll let Mr. Smith speak to that. If there's any questions on the site plan, I'd be happy to answer them, or I could turn it over to Mr. Sullivan.
Turn it over.
I have one really
One
simple
question
question.
from my Marcy.
I just was looking at the planting along the street, and I didn't see a name for NW, and there's an awful lot of them. I didn't know what plant it was.
NW.
It's not on the plant list. I don't know that you're going to be able to answer it today. But
Well, there's a number of pear trees along the property, along the street line today that we're looking to maintain.
those are the existing trees?
Those are the existing trees, yeah. So we're
Right,
gonna
no,
be
this is definitely an understory, but I don't know how, I'm just trying to get a sense of how tall it is next to the hydrangeas that are proposed. And again, I don't expect you to answer it today.
If you'd like, I can turn over to Mr. Sullivan, and I'll research that in the meantime.
Yeah, if you want to check, yeah.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ray Sullivan, Sullivan Architectural Group. We're located at 155 Broad in Milford, on the Milford Green. And I'm a registered architect for the state of Connecticut. As mentioned, we have 48 units. Of the 48 units, we have 28 one-bedrooms, 17 two-bedrooms, and 3 studios. So the range for the one-bedrooms are approximately 830 square feet each. Each unit has their own individual balcony. The two-bedrooms range from 1,050 to 1,150. And there's one odd unit that's larger because it's kind of on the inside. And the studios, and there's only 3. They're 620 square feet. The building is arranged as Ryan mentioned, what we call a 2-3 split. So it was a little challenging. We have height restrictions to go by. The upper portion of the parking lot for the school, that portion of that site it's approximately a story, higher than where the actual, existing building is. And so what we did was we constructed that back wing that's actually sits in the upper parking lot of the existing facility, and that is 2 stories from the back side, and it drops off to 3 here. And then this wing that goes forward where the existing building is 3 stories tall. The 2-3 split actually allows some flexibility in the layout. So as this shows, there's an awful lot of parking as you come in off of Summit, and it creates a nice entryway. So that's actually where the main entrance is, and so that's where the mail room, the package storage room is going to be, the main utility area. These mail rooms and package storage rooms really have to be much larger today. Just based on all the ordering online. But the other flexibility it does give us is that this, and I'll show you in a rendering, that there's an entrance up on the upper side facing the clubhouse. So staff, had made a strong emphasis. Let's make sure that this building and these units tie into that clubhouse and use that clubhouse. And so there's a secondary entrance up on there. You can park up there. There's not as many parking spaces, but there's an easy access and flow to just walk out your door, and get over to the clubhouse and share that facility. So the basic building arrangement is, this is the upper side, so that's really slab on grade or basement. This is the wing where the existing school is, and you'll get a couple of units, on the front side. So this is really a 2-3 split. That's 2 stories. That's 3 stories, pretty much. So this is the second floor, but it's actually only the first floor from the back side. So we have this level lobby. So the elevator's core is right in the middle, so you can take the elevator up. No matter where you are in the unit, and easily walk out a second front door and over to the clubhouse. And the wing above this is exactly the same. Relative to the units, all the units, every single unit is handicap adaptable. So, within the code, 10% of these units are what we call type A units on the accessibility code, and 90% are type B units. So they're all ready to be handicapped accessible. Everything's there, doorway widths, access in and out of rooms, they're all handicap compliant. The difference between the type A and the type B is that on the initial build out, the type A units have a slightly higher level of accessibility built into them already. And the B is slightly more adaptable. The building is fully sprinkled. So again, this is the view, an aerial view, which we'll never see, and you'll see the previous phase and the clubhouse here, and the short relationship. There's an outdoor amenity area behind the clubhouse, and you'll be able to walk right to that. Ryan mentioned a dog park that is envisioned back in that area. So a more eye-level view of the front, aesthetically it ties in with the Phase 1 and Phase 2. So we've got traditional shaped buildings, we've got gable roofs, we've got dormer accents, we've got clapboard siding with some, shingle accent siding, up the top. We've got bay windows. As with the building that was just finished, as well as 22 Summit, there's a full-story stone veneer, at the grade level, and we've got these, and again, every single unit has their own balcony. So that's a view of the upper level. So again, we've got the flexibility of 2 entrances, a parking lot that loops all the way around, a secondary lobby, and again, we can come out of here and easily get over to the clubhouse facility. So that is really the extent of the architectural presentation. I've got a board here which, shows the clubhouse, shows the previously just completed building and its relationship to the clubhouse. That's the rear of the clubhouse. It's a little undercooked now because it was taken just a couple weeks ago. And the previous 2 buildings that were office buildings that were converted. So if there are any questions?
We all set?
I just have one. Sure. Just for clarification, is there access around the entire building for fire engines to get to the side that the slope is on?
There's not truck access all the way around the buildings. There's fire department access on foot all the way around, but not truck.
But not truck. So that's a pretty long side of a building, and God forbid there was a fire there. I just wonder how do you get equipment there, find it.
Well, the life safety code, the fire code, allows for a hose pull of a certain dimension, and that hose pull is pretty substantial, really. So, the fact that we get all around. We get all around our building here, all the way through to the back. It's just that last stretch, and that is accessible by.
Did the fire marshal look at this yet?
Yes, yes,
What did he say?
he did, yeah.
And his opinion was?
He's fine with it. What happens on a sometimes you think of a house, right? And a house requires egress windows. Egress window has to be a certain size, it's got to be a certain dimension off the floor, it's got to be a certain width. And what happens in a R2 building is they're not anticipating fighting a fire or rescuing somebody, from the outside. The building is fully sprinklered. Every single unit is fire separated from every other unit, and it's separated from the corridor. Every unit is draft stopped, so if there was a fire, smoke doesn't get from one unit to another. So the point of exiting is that you must have 2 exits, and they have to be a certain dimension apart, they have to be a certain rating. So all those are achieved here. So if you do get a fire in a multifamily, it'd be hard for a fireman to go and take everybody on a certain elevation of a building and get them down ladders. So what they did was they made sure that the inside design of the building was safe with a fire avenue to exit the building.
I have a question.
Yes.
More about the entrances. I really like that you've got the flexibility to park on the left and come in on the first floor. But I noticed there's a lot of parking to the right side, and you've got on the lower level, an exit off of the staircase and an exit at the end of the hall. Are the doors all locked? Is it keyed only for residents of the building? Is that free? Can they come and go freely from those 2 exits, with their keys?
No.
Or they have to come to that angle in the corner?
You have to go to the main entrance for a visitor to access.
Right.
There's a years ago it used to be a
bell system.
A bell system, but now it's on your phone.
Right.
Nobody has access outside the tenants to be able to use the loading door, which is at the end, which is also the trash door. So when everybody's going to the dumpster, we want to make sure that where they can get there conveniently. And Ryan has provided a loading space so a truck can get out of everybody's way, and they can safely get into the lower level of the building and then go down the corridor to the elevator. The fire exits are generally locked on the outside. Okay. So they're panic bar passage on the inside, but locked on the outside. So there are two entrances, and you can't get in or out without a card key.
Right. And then there was one really picky one, but I'm just curious because I was really looking at the architectural. Behind the stairwell on the second floor, you've got like a room. I'm not sure if it's assigned to anything or just an empty space.
Well,
it
doesn't
look like it's part of the apartment, but it's.
It's actually a study. I think that drawing
It does go
will
with that unit. Okay.
evolve, yeah.
Okay.
And what happens, we push the stairway close to the corridor. And
Right.
the building's generally 70 feet wide, so if you push the stair close to the corridor, you actually get like a 10-foot
Another
space
room.
on the
Right.
outside. You get that one bedroom, be one bedroom with a den.
Right, that's what I was curious about. Okay.
Any other questions? You can proceed.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay.
So just to answer your question, Marcy, from before, it's
Oh,
it's a catmint grasses.
Oh, okay.
So there's
They're
a number of
low.
them, hundreds
They're
of them.
low,
but,
yeah. Nice. I think they're native and attract butterflies too, if I'm remembering correctly.
Just to wrap us up, a couple loose ends to discuss. One, there was a bit of an audible gasp that I heard. It's a package store. It's a package storage area, not a package store in there. So it's a package storage area as part of the mailroom. Tying in with regards to the IHOD zone again. So as part of the project, we do offer 10 incentive housing units. As we focused on phase 1 and phase 2 is how beneficial this IHOD availability is, not only for an applicant who's wishing to take a part of it, but also for the municipality, how you guys can chip away at your affordability number without going full affordable. We do also have Wpca approval with regards to this project on top of inland wetlands approval. With discussion of the fire, I know Ray answered the real specific questions with regards to it, but right before our last meeting, we received comments from the fire department and from the fire chief and fire marshal. We specifically withheld going forward on that day so we could address that. So we had a meeting immediately after the very next following week with Harry and Rob from fire. To address any concerns that they had. Only concern that they had was the center island in the turnaround, and we were able to address that. Again, what we're looking for is just a comprehensive and cohesive tie from phase 1 and phase 2 also into phase 3. We've established that with design, we've established that with architecturals. From a need standpoint as to what's been submitted to the town, it's pretty extensive of what we need to submit to have a full application before you. Not only do we have our plans and we have our applications, we've submitted our affordability plan. As part of the application, we've submitted our fair housing market plan. We've submitted our multifamily report. We've submitted the proposed deed restrictions to limit the property for incentive purposes. And we've also provided a licensing agreement, which is going to allow that tie between phases 1 and 2 and phase 3, where phase 3 can utilize the clubhouse and phases 1 and 2 can utilize the dog park. So again, just to make it a more comprehensive and cohesive project, tying in all 3 projects.
Just a couple questions on the IHOD. You mentioned there's 10 units in phase 3 that are the deed restricted.
Correct.
Are they, how many are 1 or 2 bedroom or studios? Do you have that
Do we have
breakdown?
them designated? So it's a proportionate split as to totality. We need to have 20% affordable, so 20% of the 1 bedrooms will be 20% of the 2 bedrooms and so on.
Are there specific units, or can they vary depending on, you know?
As part of the conditions of approval, we can specify which units specifically will be designated as affordable.
And in terms of the phase 1 and 2, has it worked out? I mean, the verification process you go through, I assume that's
It's extensive.
it's extensive, and do you provide some certification to the town that you've done it? Or how are we sure that you're actually doing it? I mean, what is that? Do you?
We have a once-a-year check back.
Yeah, is that-
Yeah, we have, as part of the IHOD approval, there's a once-a-year check back that we need to provide to make sure that we're still staying up to our end of the bargain with regards to everything on the incentive end.
Okay. And as far as you know, are we getting credit? Have we gotten any credit for phases 1 and 2? I don't know.
I think you'll have to check with your staff
with Harry
on
on
that
that
one. But it's available to you if you're.
Right.
I have a quick question. The affordable, is that at the 80% AMI, or is it across all levels?
80%.
So it's only 80%?
Yep. Yep.
Thanks. Any other questions from anyone?
And just to show, I know that there's no questions with regards to it, but just to show how well that it has been working through phase 1 and phase 2. The first time we came in for phase 1, we did a preliminary review with the board, but we also opened it up to the public, and I think we had nearly close to 130 members of the public show up. At best, we have 6 today, and that's if they're here for this application. So again, we've addressed everybody's concern, and I think that the applicant has shown the suitability to run the type of facility, and that it's been running smoothly for both the town, the residents, and the neighboring properties.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Harry, do you want to summarize the staff report?
Sure. Just to run backwards quickly and pick up off what Attorney Benjir was saying. We're not aware as staff there have really been any concerns or complaints about the phase 1 and phase 2. There was, I think, one question about a light that was glaring at somebody's, and I believe that's been addressed, it was just brought up recently. So the applicant's been very responsive to all that, as well as to comments I've raised about the plans. This is the 3rd set, so the commission should all have a new set of plans in front of you. We got that Tuesday, so I've at least quickly gone through my report and noted where they've addressed outstanding concerns I had. And as was mentioned earlier by Mr. McAvoy, most of them have been addressed in the new set of plans. So I'll just highlight a few things. I did want to note that, and it was mentioned already, but this is an application for a zoning map amendment to establish the IHOD zone. There's a report I prepared and sent to the commission back for the meeting on October 7th, which hopefully you have. If you don't, I'll send one around to get one to you. And essentially just follows the format and the rationale that was brought forward and adopted by the commission to establish the first 2 phases of the IHOD. Just to recap very quickly, I mean, there is a full bus stop on West Main Street, Route 1, at the very end of Summit Place. I believe it's on the other side of the street in front of McDonald's. As part of phase 1, I believe the applicant offered a sidewalk easement and did construct a sidewalk to fill in a missing gap between the sidewalk along the end of the cul-de-sac here at Summit Place and the sidewalk along West Main Street. And there's a traffic light there and a crosswalk, I believe, as well. So that has been done. There are a few outstanding items with respect to things in the right-of-way as we've been sort of moving along the frontage of Summit Place with this project. The applicant's been graciously offered to repair some of the things in the right-of-way, such as straighten out some of the deteriorating sidewalks, handicap drop-down ramps across the driveways, street lights, and so forth. So all that's been done and is proposed, I think, to be continued on this phase. I think there are a couple of street lights to be added along here that were asked for by town engineer. That's been added. But just go back quickly to the application for the rezoning. That's really part of the mix, is to make sure the IHOD's located in a place where there's some access to mass transit, and that's all in the specifics in that the IHOD zoning regulations in the zoning regulation manual. So there's really not anything else I don't think I need to address as far as respect to the zoning regulation amendment, outside to note that we did refer the application to South, the Council of Governments in New Haven, or actually North Haven, and their responses, they had no comments. It wasn't within 500 feet of municipal boundaries, so they didn't offer any comments. Moving on to the site plan and the special exception for the grading. The reason there's an application for a 6.8 grading approval is there's a wetland to the east of the property down the bottom of the eastern slope. I believe most of that's owned by the town. That's why they need in the wetlands approval. This application is somewhat similar to the Phase 2 development, which also included a part of a steep slope coming down to the wetland on the east. This is actually less intrusive because there'll be no intrusion into the slope that goes down. For Phase 2, they had to establish some sort of stormwater drainage infrastructure on the slope, so this will actually maintain the slope as it is. As a matter of fact, in response to a comment, they pulled back a bit away from the edge of the slope. So we're going to be more parking on the eastern side of the building, and maybe we can put the board back up quickly, just so everyone can see what I'm referring to. That'd be great. And before I forget, Mr. Sullivan, your aerials and perspectives, I don't think the second board, all those drawings have been submitted, right? I think they're brand new. Well, I haven't seen them before.
We just brought them for the presentation.
Right. If you could leave them or send pictures or something, we would need them.
I can send an electronic file if that's just.
Okay.
Happy to leave them as well.
Okay. So actually, the cul-de-sac extended further down to the east, and that's been pulled back. Most of the area here is a steep slope. You see the applicant staying out of that, and this is sort of an existing sort of scrubby tree area that's overgrown that gives a little more protection to the slope, just by being undisturbed. One of the other major comments I've made that's been addressed pretty substantially is connecting this development with Phase 2. So I think they've done a nice job providing a strong sidewalk connection and asked them to provide an amenity. You may recall there's an existing tot lot between Phase 1 and Phase 2 that's, I believe, would be open to the residents of this phase as well. So I think it kind of all begins to tie together nicely. So there'll be a dog park open to all the residents of all three phases. You got the clubhouse, so you got a package of amenities that are available. I think it was mentioned reduction in impervious surface in the wetlands approval, Wpca approval. We've also got some information from the Regional Water Authority on water service available here. I'll have that reviewed by the fire department and the town engineer, but I believe water capacity is sufficient. I don't know if this was mentioned, but the applicant did, in the response to requests from staff, has offered, I believe, to provide conduit to several of the parking spaces to make them EV charger ready. So that's, I believe, offered as well. And I can't remember the number of spaces.
Yeah, we included a provision for up to 3 spaces down in the corner over here. The reason why we chose this corner is that way, obviously people tend not to park in an EV space if they don't have an EV car. So I kind of want to keep those a little bit more remote in the event that somebody needs to charge their car for a long duration. But it is certainly flexible to be looked at.
I might review that with, as a group I know, working and trying to foster that, and actually is in the process of proposing a regulation amendment, and so that's something that will be coming to you at some point in the future.
Are they going to be setting, so many stations per, like a ratio or a count for some, for the density of parking, that a percentage be EVVs?
Yeah, and the actual, I listened to a presentation by a group in South Windsor, and they actually have an ordinance that increases the number required as time goes on. So they're sort of assuming they'll be able, to accommodate the growth in electric vehicles that way. So we can look at the number and location. So it's not too much. I won't go into it in any great depth, but
Has this gone through in the wetlands yet?
Has been approved by inland wetlands, yeah. Most of the outstanding comments you may have seen in the memo that provided to you at the last meeting have been addressed, with the exception of a couple of things about on the architectural plans. And in terms of indication of building materials, textures, and colors of the building facades, I think that's been added. There was no revision date on one of the drawings. There's just a couple little cleanup things. There's a little detail on the landscaping plan. I requested a sidewalk connection out from the northern side of the building, which has been provided, and I think there's still a conflict on the landscaping plan with some shrubs being indicated where the sidewalk is, just needs to be cleaned up or something. Let's see. A couple things I have not looked at. The new lighting information has been submitted. I raised a comment in all three phases about dust control, and I think there is certainly a note on the plan that if the zoning officer feels it's warranted because of location on the hilltop and exposure to wind, they control that. I don't believe the town engineer has reviewed this final set of plans, so he would need to do that to see if his comments have been addressed. I don't know if the other phases have crosswalks inside the parking lot, but maybe.
I don't recall off the top of my head.
I'll look at that, and we want to be consistent if that's been required. I don't believe I've seen the mutual use agreement unless I missed it in the submission. It's been submitted? Yeah. Okay, good. And essentially, I need to go through what's been submitted and make sure everything's been checked off, and haven't had a chance to do that in detail. I have not had a final sign-off from the fire department. I did sit in a meeting, as was mentioned, and I believe the fire marshal indicated he was, would be happy with the new layout that provides for a paved, I guess, really low-mounted center island in the turnaround, or at flush with grade, either or. But I can get something from him directly if that would make the commission more comfortable. It's probably better for the record. So at this point, I don't really have anything else to offer, and I think I'd feel comfortable recommending you close the public hearing. I can probably provide a draft approval resolution for the meeting on the 9th of December.
We haven't heard from the public yet.
Yes, I'm sort of jumping the gun, I suppose, but we'll find out in a minute if there's anybody who objects to it. Thank you.
Any questions for Harry or the applicant before we open up the public? Let's open up the public. Any member of the public wish to comment? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Marianne Amore. I live at 23 Pompano Avenue, directly across the street from Summit Place. And I was born there and grew up there, and I'm living there again. I'm wearing three hats today. One is as a neighbor of the project. The second is as a newly elected representative for the RTM for the district. And the third hat is as a proponent and advocate for affordable housing. So I spoke in favor of the creation of the zone initially, thinking at the very first hearing for the first phase. And I was pleased to have it, to be witness to it happening and functioning, and seeing all of the worries about affordable housing sort of dissolve into space, as they usually do. And I'm new to this. I haven't seen a drawing, so it's a little bit late to the game to have a comment or a concern about, and I'd like to see the drawings about how it's going to look. It didn't change much in the first phase because it was way in the back and you couldn't see it. So that's not going to be the case here, and I'm just hearing this now. My main question is about the affordability plan. And as in an incentive housing, how many new units, my first question is how many new units are being proposed here?
48 total, 10 affordable. 48 total, 10 affordable.
Okay, so
Correct me
48.
if I'm wrong.
All right, so, okay, so that's 20%.
20%.
Perfect,
Right.
okay, I thought it was a larger number, so I was a little concerned that it wasn't 20%, so that makes me happy. Considering I may end up moving across the street someday, so, because I want to stay in the neighborhood. So that's good. I'd like to see more incentive housing zoning happen and more kinds of creative projects where deed-restricted affordable units are part of the community and are welcomed. I think that that's where we need to go for lots of reasons. My other concern, and I'm only hearing a little bit about it now, is as a representative of the 4th District, we are the densest district in town. We are pretty much close to twice the density of the town overall. And in terms of civic responsibilities, it's very hard to reach out to those many. I think we're up to 15 or 16 very dense developments, which I'm in favor of. But I'm glad to hear that there's a community center. Is that operational now? There is one going on now, okay. And I'd like to be able to, as the representative of that district, be able to work with your property manager. I guess that's who would be the person, so that there are ways through that community center that folks are allowed or encouraged or enabled to be part of the town. And so I'd like to have that conversation. We're having it generally in our district with all of the multi-dense developments and see if we can welcome them into the town in a little bit more proactive way. I can't make a comment on what it looks like because I haven't seen it yet. And this setup makes it very difficult for the public to see anything. So I'd like to have a chance to look after the meeting. I do have a question about the demarcation between the very front, you know, the bank and the medical offices there. Will there be something that differentiates the end of your property with that? I mean,
There's a landscape.
Okay, great. I wonder because it's odd now. It's very strange. Okay. Well, as long as we got the 20%, I'm happy.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other members of the public wish to comment? Yes, sir.
Well, I would have been wearing 4 hats today, but I'm no longer chairman of economic development, but still involved in the town and working as business and economic development for the town. I do see this as a positive. A couple of the other hats, I have done business with Vigliotti's, more on their residential homes, not on the apartments, but I have seen what they've done up here, and they've taken an area that needed some work and has fixed it up. And any of the people that I know that do live in the apartments are very pleased with what has happened and what's gone on. Again, issuing towards the public housing, I think this helps us. Every project that comes forward, it always becomes part of the topic. So I'm happy that they're doing that. So I just wanted to put that out there and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment? Hearing none, does the applicant have any comments, responses, anything you'd like to add?
I think we're all set. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from commission?
That wouldn't carry.
Yep.
Our IHUD zone is an overlay zone. Does it basically conform, or is it similar? I just haven't had a chance to look through what was the, I don't think we even have a Commerce Park zone anymore, do we? Or is that? But that's like another overlay zone. So the Commerce Park zone was like a multi-family zone, which.
Commerce Park is it's like a commercial zone, so the residential wasn't allowed in the Commerce Park.
Right, and then this sort of overlays that to address. I guess I'm just trying to understand and I'll look at it closer, the bulk requirements that run inherent with the land as
okay.
opposed to what's
All right.
proposed.
It's a zone change, right?
Yes, this is a change.
Right.
Right.
So Commerce Park is gone and this is substituting.
Right.
Any other questions from commission members? Comments? Okay, we can close this matter as a public hearing. Again, we're not going to act on this evening. Harry mentioned he'll be looking at a few things, so.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys need a break or anything, or can I keep going? Okay, let's keep going. That brings us then to item number 7.
I was all set to take a break.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, we will take a break. I'm sorry.
2 minutes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I looked around, I only looked one side. Continue with our public hearings. Item number 7 was BC Investment Property LLC, 175 Cherry Hill Road, 11-lot re-subdivision. As I mentioned at the beginning of the hearing, this matter is going to be continued to our December 9th meeting, if you were here on that. So that one will be continued to our December 9th meeting. Brings into item number 8, which is Lindsay Schaffner, applicant, KIOP Branford LLC, owner, 102591 West Main Street, special exception for indoor recreation gym. Is applicant ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
You may
For
proceed.
the record, Lindsay Schaffner. Hopefully I'm a quick and easy one for you tonight. So I am looking to open up an F45 franchise. It's a global fitness community that specializes in innovative, high-intensity group workouts that are fun, fast, and results-driven. The F stands for functional, so like functional movements. 45 is 45 minutes. And they're like high-intensity interval training, circuit training, and each class is focused on delivering rapid and impactful results in an approachable and encouraging environment. So they're all about community and team, and their motto is team training, life changing. They started in Australia originally in 2012. Currently there are about 2,800 worldwide, about 1,800 actually, I think, in the US, and right now there's about 8 in Connecticut. I think there's 3 that are opening soon. And yeah, I'm just looking to open in the Brandhaven Plaza. It's the side of Big Y, which is in between the dental office and I think the nail place. It's about 3,700 square feet. And yeah, we'll be open 7 days a week, 6 classes during the week to start, and only a few, probably 4 on the weekends. Yeah, any questions?
Great. Oh, that sounds great. Staff report, Evan, did you prepare this?
I had a question.
Did?
Well,
I
let's
just want
let
to know if
Marcy
there was
ask the question
equipment.
first.
Is there equipment, or is it
Yes.
like,
But it's not like, there's no treadmills.
it's like kettlebells and
Kettlebells,
wall balls?
dumbbells, yep, there's a sled push.
But it's not like CrossFit, or it's?
No. Everybody thinks that. It's not heavy lifting. There are like weights, but it's not, like CrossFit is geared towards, lifting heavy weight and getting your maximum rep. This is more about kind of circuit training. It's all about functional movements and doing movements that are going to help you in your everyday life.
So even though it's high intensity, you can tailor the classes.
Exactly.
For the old
It's really for anyone.
Okay.
And because it's basically circuit training, so it's timed, so you can go at your own pace.
Okay.
And you can do your own weights. You can modify any movement. So it's really for anyone,
Nice.
any age, for the most part.
Thank you for indulging me.
No, I was going to open up for questions after Evan finished anyway, but go ahead, Evan.
Like the applicant stated, this is a change of use to an indoor recreation facility in the Big Y parking lot at 102591 West Main Street. The applicant has requested waiver of the site plan requirement, as she's not proposing any changes to the exterior of the building. She's simply occupying one of the units at this site. She did submit, however, this site plan that I gave to you guys, just showing which unit she's planning to occupy. They meet the bulk requirements, no exterior changes to the site. The indoor recreation use is not listed in our off-street parking table, therefore you guys have to make that determination of the required spaces. In the past, you guys have determined that 1 space per 175 square feet of floor area was appropriate. Based on the gross floor area of the unit that she's planning to occupy, 21 spaces would be needed. The previous use required 15. Staff feels that just the sheer size of this parking lot provides that difference in parking spaces, as well as there is a bond from the property owner for changes to landscaping, lighting, and parking lot, I believe. Maybe just parking and landscaping. No change to the lighting, no soil disturbance, and based on the application materials, let's see, it would appear that they generally satisfy the special exception criteria. We have 1 finding and 1 condition. That is that prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the applicant shall submit written confirmation that no changes to the existing exterior lighting is a part of this application.
Thank you, Evan. Questions, comments from commission members? Hearing none, open it up to the public. Any member of the public wish to comment?
Come on, Perry, right?
One more time. Any
Economic development guy.
Any member?
Thank you.
Okay. Perry blesses it. Okay, so anyone, I see no member of the public wish to comment. Are there any further questions or comments from either the applicant, commission members, or staff?
Do you serve food there at all? I mean, like a juice bar? Or
No, there won't be.
should we exercise?
Sorry, yeah, yep, just group classes. Mhm.
Can you hold more than 1 group class at the same time? Like,
No.
So it's 1 class
Just
at a
one,
time
yep.
of about how many people?
Max will be probably 36, but it depends on the workout, so it'll range from probably 27 to 36.
And is that divided in, 6 to this area and you rotate?
It depends on the workout and how many stations there are and how many can fit in each station. But the workout area itself is almost 2,500 square feet, which is pretty large for an F45 gym. So good, decent amount of room, yeah.
What's the name of the, what do you call it again? What's the name of the franchise?
F45.
What 45? F45.
Yeah, it actually went public over the summer, under ticker FXLV. Mark Wahlberg is a huge investor as of 2019.
Is he coming to the grand opening?
I know. keep putting it out there on social media, so you never know. I think he's from Boston, so yeah.
Okay, that's exciting. Okay, so then we can close this matter as a public hearing. This is something we can probably take up in a little bit.
Okay, great.
Okay,
thank you.
So with that, I think that completes our public hearings. So going to our minutes, I believe the November 4th minutes were sent out to us. And if you've had a chance to look at those, someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes? And I don't know if you have any changes, or if not, someone will make a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve made by Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Marcy. And I think we're all voting tonight. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adopted. Any correspondence, Harry?
Yes, we have a referral from the town of North Branford for a zoning regulation change. Essentially, it is to exempt municipal regulation light poles, or provide for their listing in the list of features are exempt from the height limit, as long as they're dark sky compliant. It also exempts them from the required setback distances, within certain limitations. That's it.
Okay.
We do have 2 cell tower documents. One is for changes to antennae and other facilities on the pole at Sylvia Street, which is off East Main Street, and also the same thing at 21 Acorn Road, which is near exit 56. That's it.
Thanks. And I think we can bring up the public hearing item we just heard. This is item number 8 of the public hearing, KIOP, the F45 fitness facility in the Big Y Plaza. Evan, do you, I see that you've recommended a finding that it's consistent with the special exception criteria, and you have, is that condition, you still recommend that, about the lighting, or verification about the lighting?
Yeah, I would still recommend it, as it was Harry's idea to throw this in. And it's just prior to the issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance, the following shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the town planner or his designee. Confirmation in writing that no changes to the existing lighting, parking lot, site lighting, as well as building mounted is proposed as part of the work associated with this approval.
Okay, great. Will someone want to make a motion to approve the application with the finding that Evan just read, the condition confirming about no changes in the lighting?
So moved.
So moved by Marcy. Is there a second? Second. Second by Joe. Further discussion?
We need more, we need to be healthy.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another reason. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Unanimously approved. Congratulations, you're not here.
Sheila.
Sheila. Okay, so that brings us then to, what do we have? Old
Release.
business.
Oh.
Let's go through the list here. Items number 1, 2, and 3 are Cherry Hill. The project is going on, a modification that's scheduled for our next meeting on December 9th. Is that correct?
Right.
Item number 4 is, this is top of page 3. This is the moratorium that we talked about. That's scheduled. We have a public hearing on that scheduled for our next meeting.
That was tonight.
So that brings us then to new business. And item number 1, Goodsell Point. That's items number 1 and 2, and we'll schedule that for public hearing probably,
Probably the first meeting in January.
Probably in January. That's the, remember we approved the general plan, the PDD designation in the general plans, and this is the specific plan for the Goodsell Point Marina mixed-use development. Item number 3 and 4, we need to, that's a PDD for the old hospice, is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so that's, we need to schedule that for a public hearing at some point, which.
Yeah, I'm happy if the commission's still happy with deferring to myself and you. I think we have a standing motion, I believe,
Yeah.
so.
So that won't be at the next meeting, but it'll be, we'll schedule that, that's what that is. Item number 5, 8 High Plain Road, a special exception modification for a single-family home. Is that something we can take care of this evening?
I believe so.
Okay. Evan, you want to summarize that?
Sure. This applicant came in a few weeks ago for regrading of their backyard. They're adjacent to a wetland, required a special exception, 6.8. Now the applicant is not comfortable and would not like to put the split rail fence around that area. There is no zoning regulation requiring it. It was a recommendation of their soil scientist. So we worked it into the conditions of both the Inland Wetland Commission as well as ours. But I believe that the Inland Wetland agent is comfortable with them marking that area in a different way. So staff recommends just the removal of the language of the split rail fence in the second condition of their approval.
Okay. So do we need to waive a public hearing on this one?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so first, I think this is minor modification of a condition of approval. First of all, is there a motion to waive the public hearing for this application?
So moved.
Motion made by Fred. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Joe. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is waived. So then the second one, we need to approve the modification of removing, is it removing in the condition, or it just?
Revising it.
Modification of
Revising
the
it.
second condition to remove the split rail fence
The
from
language.
that condition.
Okay.
It's the wording changes as outlined in the
Right. We
annotated
have the-
decision letter, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, the decision letter, that's part of what was handed out to us. So is there a motion to approve the modification of condition to set forth in the letter?
So moved.
So moved by Marcy. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Second, Fred. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's approved. Brings us to item number 6 of new business, which is Branford Land. That's Ed Crowley. This is the brewery. So there's some addition or modification going on with that one, Harry, and just what's that about? You want to just?
It's a proposed addition to the patio area, so I believe part of the patio area for the brewery currently extends on a land leased from Branford Landing next door, owned by Mr. Anderson and others possibly. So Mr. Crowley owns the brewery, wants to add to the leased area and add to the patio. I'll look at the process. It may be more complicated than just straightforward site plan modification.
Okay, so we may have to do a few other things, but that's what that's about. So
Yeah.
we'll just table that. Sort of.
To the 9th for now, yeah.
Yeah. That brings us into items 7, 8, and 9. That's on our last page, and I think that's the Amazon business.
That's the Amazon Fulfillment Center.
Fulfillment Center. That's Commercial Parkway. And I think we'll schedule public hearings on that probably when, I don't know.
Probably January.
Probably in January.
Yeah.
We only have
Probably
one
second
December meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Take it, it's already filled?
right. So,
We
So
can't
I
get it
think
in the
that-
advertisement fast enough either.
Oh, okay.
and did they get approval from Wetlands yet? Or are they?
I believe they have it. I'm not entirely certain of that. So I just don't recall.
Okay. That brings us then to other business, a bond release for Vox Church. Are we ready to do that yet or no?
No, I'd have to table that to the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll table that to the next meeting. And then item number 2, a referral from the Zoning Board of Appeals for a use variance at 15 Church Street. And you did hand us out something about that area. You want to go over what's that about?
I think Evan has some information. I don't know if he's already passed it out to you. We also have Mr. Lepre in the audience, who is the applicant at the ZBA. The zoning regulations provide for referral by the ZBA to the Planning and Zoning Commission for what's called a use variance, which is a variance to allow a use at a particular property that's not otherwise allowed in the zoning district that it's zoned for. So that's the case here. I believe the applicant is applying for the ability to convert a small, what's previously been a commercially used building at the intersection of Church Street and Meadow Street into basically apartment. It would be a single-family dwelling because it'd be one apartment or one building. And there's also an existing two-family additional building on the property as well.
Okay, and the reason it's coming before us, even though it's an application before the ZBA, is is it in our regulations?
It's in our regulations.
Our regulations say that if there's an application for a use variance, we give a recommendation on it, or?
Yeah, you can offer any comments you have. I mean,
Right.
I don't know if it's a required approval, or not, but I think if you had any comments, positive, negative,
Okay,
we'll provide them to the ZBA.
sure. Sir, do you want to
Sure.
comment?
Yeah, my name is Joe Lepre. I live at 14 Flat Rock Road. I recently purchased 1519 Church Street. It's on the corner of Church and Meadow. As was just stated, I mean, there's currently 2 buildings on the lot. Problem is the lot is, right now, it's zoned as IG1. So what we would like to do is get a change of use that would allow me to use the small commercial as a residential instead of a commercial rental. It does fall within the TOD area, the property itself. The drawbacks to commercial over there's not a lot of on-street parking on Meadow Street. Basically, there's nothing on Meadow Street, there's some parking on Church. The previous owner had a terrible time. She went 6 years with no renter in there. So I went to ZBA on Tuesday, and they passed it unanimously, and they passed me on to here. So basically, what I'm just looking for is the opportunity to know that I can go residential to that building, and then we can make some decisions as to moving forward on the property.
So do they approve it?
They approved it.
They did not.
I don't think
But
they've
they-
formally voted yet, but
They reacted very positively to it.
Oh, okay.
And I
Very
believe they're-
positively.
And they're planning to vote on it next month.
Okay, so, got it, understood. Okay, so anyone have any questions? I guess our zoning map is such that there's industrial on the other side, right next to the railroad track, and those are, more non-residential uses. But this is on the other side of the street, and it's near Atlantic Wharf or across from the old Crostini restaurant. And it is, I guess there is a house there. It is a residential area. Church Street is residential. You can have some pictures. Sure.
There's an existing two-family house on the property?
Right.
Yes. So the next door property is also considered IG1. And as you were stating before, eventually there will be all residential here on this property when they develop that development.
And, okay, so it's R1 that's abutting it, right?
R1 abuts it, correct.
But there's already a duplex on there, so.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And you would make it a single-family dwelling, is that what it is, or you would convert it?
So currently, I'm still working on that as far as where we stand. What I really need to know is what we can do. If we can do residential there, then I can move forward. I have to make an assessment on the property. The building's in very poor condition. Both properties are both buildings are in very poor condition. So I have to decide moving forward what I'm gonna do with them. Unfortunately, I can't until I know for sure I can even do residential.
Did your variance apply for multifamily? That's what I'm just trying to figure out.
I haven't applied for anything as far as that's concerned. The only thing I'm applying for right now is just a change of use. So I can know going forward that then I can go residential.
Well, actually, the form says convert the building to a single-family residence.
Okay.
So unless you went back to the ZBA, you'd be limited to just one dwelling unit in the commercial.
Right, and ZBA made that explicitly to me. They told me as long as I stay within the confines of the structure of what I'm in right now, then I'm fine. And I get that. If I go beyond that, I have to go back to ZBA and I have to come back here.
Yeah, but you can only have one unit in that building on the corner, according to this.
Mhm.
That's all you asked for, so.
Yep.
Okay. You understand what's going on. Typically, when you can get variances of any regulations, but typically they're like setbacks or number of parking spaces or something like that. When there's a use variance, a change of use from one from a industrial use to a residential use, that's typically more of a drastic change. And so what we, I guess, have said in our regulations is that if there ever is a use variance that is sought, then you should at least get consultation from us. It's ultimately up to the ZBA. So in this case, there appears to be, it's surrounded by residential area, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be other residential right next to it. If it was on the other side, it was on the other side of the street, I'd have more question marks, but it's on the side of the street where.
It'd be a problem either, was on the other side of the street.
Yeah, frankly, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't have any problem with it, but I don't know what you guys think. Yeah,
I think that it's, if they haven't been able to rent it in 6 years, and, help out the people that if it's a single family and they're not changing the structure and it's not going to create any havoc and it brings success to the owner, I say, it's a good move. I want people in this town to be successful.
Joe, any comments?
It just seems to be an obsolete bit of, residual zoning.
Right. Yeah, it's not allowed on the way it's zoned, but it's, right.
Everything's evolved around that particular parcel.
Marcy,
I'm recusing myself from this.
Oh, okay. Marcy's recusing herself, so. Okay, so it looks like there is no objection, I would guess.
Okay.
On the part of planning and zoning, so you can express that as a sentiment, I guess, or what
Yeah,
do we
we'll
have to do?
communicate that. We'll put a little one-page memo together and send it to the ZBA Commission's behalf.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it for, and just so the record reflect that Marcy recused herself from any discussions or deliberations on this application? I mean, we expressed the consensus that there was no objection. There were the 4 people who were there agreed with that.
Yep.
So, and Harry will communicate that. I don't know if we need, it's not an application.
No, I don't think the regulation provides for the necessity for a vote. We just comment, so.
Okay. Okay, next one is 2022 meeting schedule. You gave us some proposed dates, which were sent out.
Yeah, I was reminded by Evan that I believe the reason the commission did not adopt it at the last meeting was you were hoping to get input from members absent at that meeting. And I think Joe was also absent that meeting, but he couldn't make it tonight, so. Who else was absent last meeting? I'm trying to remember of you folks.
Joe Chad.
Oh, you weren't, that's right, you were ill. Right, you're right. So we need to do it fairly quickly. We could delay it to the 9th, but we have to file it by January.
It looks like the standard meeting dates.
Yeah, yeah, it's basically is.
They're just, I will give it one heads up that there's a good chance that I will be absent from the area in the month of February. I don't know that for sure. My wife retired and she wants to go south, and I may go with her. I'm still working, but, we could, you could do remote meetings and I could still do it, but I don't know if you want to do that. But right. Oh, either that or someone, first of all, you may elect a new chair at the next meeting, be an election of officers. So
Can we create a vice chair so that if you're absent, they have to run the meeting instead of the secretary?
Right. So we got, that, I'm just floating that out there. I mean, we can always have, we can have remote meetings. We could do it now for any meeting we wanted to. Or, someone else could step up. But anyway, that's, if I'm not here. I don't even know for sure.
I think Marcy has a good point there. I mean, there could be a vice chair.
Yeah, it could be a vice chair. We could. No one wanted to do it in the past. I mean, we got a
I nominate Marcy.
No, I just said I'm the secretary. I'm doing my part.
Okay.
I would nominate Joe because he's been here the next longest. Or Joe Vayuso to run it. I said Joe, I didn't specify.
Yeah, you said
You're the only Joe here today, but I think you'd be very good at it as well.
I have to ask a question about the schedule. It says up on top, generally the first and third Thursday, except where there's nobody with an asterisk.
But there are no asterisks.
The December 8th should have one because it's the second Thursday, so we'll add that before we file it.
And we got the High Holy Day, October 6th. We have an 8 p.m.
starting at 8 p.m.
Get us out of whichever one it is.
October 6th, 8 p.m.
So
I'll be here on time. You should have told me it was 7.
Did Evan proof this?
Well, actually, you'll.
No, go ahead.
No, that's all right.
22nd is my birthday of September.
Is there a motion to adopt the proposed 2022 meeting dates as our actual meeting dates with the addition of an asterisk after December 8th? So moved by Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Marcy. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Planners report.
Just quickly, since it's getting late, we are in the middle of a rollout of a survey with respect to the affordable housing plan. So you probably have seen an email from either Trista or Evan or both. So I encourage you to take the survey yourself if you haven't done that, and to also spread it as far and wide as you can. We'll have posters up. We've started distributing those, and done a press release and hoping to get a fair amount of response. I think we've already gotten 300 or close to 400 responses.
Is it live already? Did you send an email to the commission?
No, I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. You should have, I think Trista sent an email out to all the boards and commissions, so you may have seen it, might have got caught somewhere else, but.
And we'd like to ask that you guys share with as many.
Yeah, please do it. Any way you can do that to make it go viral, that would be wonderful.
I just need it, be handheld a little, send it to me so that I can forward it instead of going fishing for it. Thank you.
So you will send that tomorrow?
Yes.
That is pretty much it at the moment.
Okay. Thanks, Sir, we do have election of officers at the next meeting, and I don't know if others, I mean, a lot of times, traditionally, we ask an alternate to poll people. Massimo, I mean, I never.
I'll do it, it's not a problem, I'll
Yeah.
call.
Yeah.
It gets me to talk to you guys.
I am serious about the
I would
vice
ask
chair
them, but you're-
position, though.
Yeah, I, for someone to run, or whatever, yeah, we can, I don't
An
know.
opposition candidate, no opposition here.
Well, I mean, it would be, God forbid something happened, like, you know.
Yeah.
Well, in February, that's all.
You would, the secretary normally steps in.
I don't really know that I feel capable of leading the meeting, to be honest. No. I need it all handwritten out.
There's many capable people here, so.
Exactly, I want to share the wealth.
But, I think
think
it's
you do.
whatever. I don't know.
So you want me to do a poll?
Yeah, you want to poll if people are interested in serving. There's all positions, right now, we just have two, but you could ask. Yeah, call people and ask if they're interested in serving.
Basically, you have to
There's-
bribe them. The
Our-
commission.
The commission,
yeah, that's-
commission
Basically, you have to
members.
bribe us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commission, because alternates can't serve as officers, so that's why you ask an alternate to do it.
Good.
I mean, that was what Mac did when he did it a few times.
So we all know that once you get elected, you don't get off. There's no there's no end
Yeah.
of term.
No, and that's actually a danger, I think. I think we need to do it. If somebody is interested, I'm.
What's it again? What's the danger?
There's no
a
end of
danger.
term.
Yeah.
People have done it, keep getting voted in.
Yeah,
To
what
do
what
it again.
if you want, there should be a regular, if someone thinks, hey, this guy's going nuts, we need new blood or whatever. Yeah, that's fair. I mean.
Chuck's had too much power. I think it's time
That's
to
right,
overthrow
absolutely.
him and have it change.
That's right. No,
I don't see that
absolutely.
happening, I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
That's
So, there we go.
Anyway, just.
The first law of office practice is never do anything well if you don't like to do it.
Don't volunteer. Army.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, there's a motion, there's a second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
So we're adjourned.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.